Boomer equals winner.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, November 21st, 2019. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 1192.
This is No Agenda.
Looking for our share of some USAID and broadcasting live from Opportunity Zone 33 here in the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where there's nothing better than pickled cauliflower, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Can always count on a food tip at the top of the show.
Indeed.
Pickled cauliflower. Ugh.
The best.
Yeah. Do you pickle it yourself? No doubt.
No, I don't. Actually, I pickle my own turnips, but I don't do the cauliflower.
What, you pickle your own turnips?
Oh, pickled turnips are the best.
Okay. Very nice. Pickled turnips. Hey, John, this was hands down the worst television week in American broadcast history.
I know, and these networks decided to actually interrupt their own programming and put this debate on TV. So you had to go find a station that was showing something that you could watch.
It was, and the shows were boring. Yesterday was particularly bad. The whole impeachment hearings, which just dragged on, although nicely back-timed by Chairman Schiff into the 8 o'clock news hour. He did that perfectly, so the pre-debate shows could start everywhere. Oh my God! It was, and it was, and then the snooze fest of a debate. It's like, this is so wrong. This is ruining television. I mean, even the debate. Just for a second, this format. If we can just talk as executives, this format is wrong. It's not a debate. It's a bunch of news models asking questions to each candidate.
What was the deal with 4 women and no men?
Well, I think that was an obvious statement, but that didn't bother me that much.
It bothered me.
You know, it's like these candidates. It's dumb. You get a 45 seconds to follow up, answer questions, and they just ask different questions of everybody. And once in a while, there's a little bit of interaction. But if you want this to succeed, if you want people to care, you gotta we have to have the candidates do some challenges. You know, like a 3-legged race, or build a bike together as a team. That would be a good show. That's what I want. That's where I'll see some leadership. But no. Just the same.
Put Gordon Ramsay in front of the group.
Yes, have him cooking. Exactly, a cook-off. Chopped. Chopped. I'm sorry, Elizabeth. You're chopped. You're off. You've been, and maybe do a diary room where the candidates, well, I really didn't like what Tulsi did to me. That was just not so nice. But okay, I'll soldier on. I mean, this is how you do a show. And they still got the music and the debate. No one cares. This is not how people watch video anymore. Just my opinion, but God, I mean, spice it up a bit. If only they would give us a little bit of control over the production of this show, it would be so much better. Everybody would be watching.
Well,
and it's the trend. We got comedians running
that show where the guys have to go through a labyrinth of punching bags and things hitting them and swinging.
American Gladiator, American Ninja.
No, there's a one that's better than that. It's called Knocked Out or Punch Out.
Oh yeah,
or something.
And it's really violent because those big padded things hit you pretty hard. They knock you over.
Yeah, and they knock you into the drink.
There you go.
Now with those guys going through that would be great.
That would be good. Exactly. Ay. So, where do you want? I think we should just start with this television week so we can get through it, and maybe we do it in order of appearance, starting with the continuation of the hearings.
Well, I'll tell you what I have.
Mm-hmm.
I have no clips from the hearings because I'm going to take a look at the transcripts, do some analysis of the end of the days and things like that, and then maybe have something for Sunday. Although I doubt it.
Important analysis.
There's no important analysis. So I do. All my clips are from the debates, and it's just a couple just to ridicule the people that were there. Although I do have the Tulsi I thought it was chicken shit, by the way. They had Tulsi. They threw her a softball to start yakking.
Wait, you're going into the debate? I have clips on the hearing. I mean,
okay. Well, then I'm going to skip my clips on the debates right now. We'll do them after the hearings, and then we can talk.
Exactly, because the hearing. Well, first of all, if I can just preface this, these hearings with a lot of hearsay and people going back and forth and how they felt about policy and policy being upended and ambassadors, people paying $1 million to become ambassadors. I mean, this is all just the asshole of what politics is in America. Nothing interesting, no proof.
Well, you didn't find it interesting that number of the candidates? I think Klobuchar was one of them.
I'm talking about the hearings.
No, wait.
Oh.
That a number of the candidates would all go on later and say, "Oh, yeah, these hearings, the impeachment, it's unbelievable that this guy got this ambassadorship only because he bundled money for." Are they kidding us?
Well, let's look at all of the ambassadorships and let's go back to Obama. Come on, it's stupid.
Go back to Teddy Roosevelt.
Yes, exactly.
The Plum ambassadorships, the ones right now, the Plum ones are EU, which is what that guy was, Sonderheim, whatever his name was.
That's worth $1 million.
EU, he was a bundler. The EU ambassadorship, we said this before on the show. Vatican ambassadorship is a killer.
London,
you don't have to do anything.
You want to be in London. You want to be in Paris.
London, Paris,
Rome,
Singapore. Singapore's a winner.
It's always, yes, Elizabeth Warren, who said, "Hey, if you're a billionaire, if you're rich, and if you wanna get an ambassadorship, don't donate to me." Okay, that's good. Noted.
What an idiot!
All right, back to the hearing, because I do have one central premise that I'm interested in, and I'll get to that because I did kind of a deep dive.
Ooh.
So while everyone's going on about security assistance, which I love this word, this is a new term for weapons sales. Security assistance. I wasn't buying a gun off the first. I was getting some security assistance. That's all, just some security assistance. That's all. It's not a big deal. So we gave $1 billion. We have Joe Biden saying he wouldn't give it if something didn't stop prosecution, but $1 billion. Nowhere at any point did anyone, well, I have a kind of half a clip. Did anyone say, well, what is this $1 billion for? What are they doing with $1 billion? So let's kind of start with that. Will Hurd, congressman or senator? I think it's congressman from Texas.
They're all congressmen in this hearing.
Yes, and he's actually not going to stand for re-election. He's done with everything. And he seems like a nice guy, but former spook who brags about it a little bit too much. And he asked Ms. Cooper, who is the Defense Department's envoy for security assistance, exactly what kind of money was put together and where it comes from and what it's meant for. Oh, before I say that, Miss Cooper, she looks like Meg from Family Guy. Did you notice that? She's totally Meg from Family Guy with the glasses, the haircut's the same.
A little cap.
If she had that, it would be perfect. So here's Hurd asking her about this aid, and where it comes from, and what buckets it's from, and what it's really for, and is it really Javelin missiles showing up in crates, or is it something else?
Can you explain, I know FMF, Foreign Military Financing, is State Departments, but can you explain the difference between FMF and USAI funding, and also how the Ukrainians get lethal aid?
So there are 3 separate pieces to our overall ability to provide equipment to the Ukrainian armed forces. The first is the Foreign Military Finance System, which is a State Department authority, and countries around the world have this authority. That authority is used for some of the training and equipment. There's also the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative. That's a DoD authority. Unlike the state authority, the DoD authority is only a 1-year authority. And then third, there's opportunity for defense sales. And that is something that we're working with the Ukrainians on now so that they can actually purchase U.S. equipment. But the Javelin specifically was provided under FMF initially.
Financing.
And now the Ukrainians are interested in the purchase of Javelin.
And there wasn't a hold put on purchasing of equipment, is that correct?
Not to my understanding, no.
Yeah, FMF, Foreign Military Financing, and it's a great system. The taxpayers send their money to the Treasury. The Treasury then, at the command of typically Congress, sends that in the form of foreign military financing. Of course, I don't think they actually send anything, but let's just pretend. Here's a check. And then they take the check and say, great, who's got some javelins? Oh, let me hand it right back to you. And it goes into the military-industrial complex. This is a round-robin game, and we might as well just recognize that that's what it's about. And those javelins were not held up. They could purchase, and anyone, believe me, the U.S. military-industrial campus store does not close. You want to show up with some money? No problem. As long as you're pre-approved, we'll give it to you. So I'm trying to figure out where all this money has been going to Ukraine. And it's if you look at the so there was an office and management budget request that of course comes from the executive branch, from the president, which had a whole list of items which are all financial codes. And the request was, hey, here's all this money which equals about $39 billion you're going to give away in 2019. Could you please tell me, just itemize this shit so we understand what's going on? This has been a campaign promise, so I'm happy that's happening. There was no news on it, but I finally got a hold of the interoffice memo, which spells this out quite clearly. But if you go back, we've given $5 billion to Ukraine in recent history. And funny enough, the only place I could find anything, because this OMB memo, if you trace it back and you look at the foreign military financing, there's no banks' names aren't filled in, recipient name. It's completely void of any information. And in 2014, when we really cranked up the aid, because of course we were about to replace the government in Ukraine, of all outfits, Huffington Post tried to figure out where all this money was going.
Now, the United States is preparing to give $1 billion in aid to the Ukraine, but because there is a little public disclosure on those funds, it'll be a while before we know exactly how the money is used. However, a Huffington Post review of disclosures of the $5 billion of aid given to Ukraine since 1992 might give us some insight. Much of the aid has gone to programs combating human trafficking or the proliferation of arms, dismantling of Chernobyl, and groups promoting democracy and civic engagement. Now, President Obama has already said that some of the new aid will go to this latter group. In a fact sheet released this week, the administration said, quote, the United States will provide technical assistance to train election observers, help bring electoral processes in line with international standards, and promote robust participation by civil society organizations and a free and independent media.
So the focus there, $1 billion, 1,000 million dollar bills going to non-governmental organizations to let me see, I have the to fund groups promoting civic engagement, the rule of law, investigative journalism, and oversight of elections. Come on! And subsequently, we overthrew the government, put our own people in. This is quite funny. In addition,
this is unbelievably bogus.
Yes. In addition to that, USAID contributed $200 million. This is part of this 1,000 million.
Oh, yeah. USAID in these situations reminds me of these venture capital companies, where you have one guy, a bunch of guys jump in on something, and then some laggard. I'm not going to say who, but let's just say any number of them. Look, hey, all these guys are investing in this. I have to get my piece of the action. Let me put my money in.
Exactly.
That's what USAID does a lot of times.
Yes, and it comes back multiple fold. Although USAID gets a lot of money from the National Endowment for Democracy, which is also taxpayer money. But which
is something we should be part of.
Looking at these numbers, yes, I totally agree. But
I think we should just be the National Endowment for Democracy's podcast.
We'll take care of you. Now, yesterday, a news release came out about a press conference. This was Interfax, which is a throwback to the 70s, I think. I didn't know Interfax still existed. Isn't this kind of the Eurasian news service, like the Eurasian Associated Press?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
So Interfax releases a news report that and a YouTube video to go along with it, which I'm having confirmed as if what the article says is what they actually said in this press conference. 2 Ukrainian members of parliament have now demanded that the presidents of Ukraine and the United States investigate suspicions of the legalization of $7.4 billion by the family of ex-president Viktor Yanukovych through the American investment firm of Franklin Templeton Investments. You know who is a part of Franklin Templeton Investments?
No.
Hunter Biden. He consults for that. Yes, of course. So anyway,
this guy's in way too deep.
What they're saying is that, and this is Derkash, one of these 2 members of parliament. Several facts indicate Franklin Templeton Investments' relationship with the U.S. Democratic Party. The son of Templeton's founder, John Templeton Jr., was one of President Obama's major campaign donors. Another fund-related character is Thomas Donnellan, managing director of BlackRock Investment Institute. Let's see. Presidents, where is it here? Anyway,
4 billionaire Democrats.
Well, what they're saying is this round-robin money laundering, which goes through this Franklin Templeton Investments, and it directly benefits the DNC and many Democratic donors and politicians. So it's still Interfax, so this will get no play. Although I think Shapiro's outfit picked up on it.
Well, Interfax is Russian.
Of course, it's all.
So that's why it's not going to get any play. It's like Sputnik and
right. But it's
RT.
interesting. The Russians are reporting on the corruption of U.S. citizens in Ukraine.
Yeah, well, that's more likely that they're going to report on than anybody we've got working over there.
Yeah, well, this is true.
Which is the State Department.
But if you look at Kerry, all the people who have been involved in the State Department with Ukraine, all of this money going to NGOs who are going to oversee elections, come on. And then the one person, and this is, do you remember, her name is Natalie Jaresko. And Natalie Jaresko was named specifically in previous documents and by these 2 Ukrainian politicians, saying that she was the one that was shepherding the this money laundering. And if you recall, she's a U.S. citizen who was born. She was born in Ukraine, naturalized U.S. citizen. Big Wall, not big, but she had a $600 million fund of investments, private investments in Ukraine. And then she was asked to be the finance minister when they had that big switcheroo. Yeah. When we came in, and we laughed about it, of course, because what kind of person are you putting in there and take care of the country's money when she has a vested interest? And she was removed, and she's now, I think they shipped her off to some god awful place. Let me see where she is. I'm sorry, she's now been shipped off to Puerto Rico. And she's executive director of
keep her busy.
Financial Oversight and Management Board. But she's the one that actually shepherded, according to the Ukrainians, shepherded a lot of this money. So I found that really eye-opening that that's not discussed, because we're giving away a lot of money everywhere. And
well, it's not this. It seems to me that the hearings, these impeachment hearings, especially when you bring all this stuff up and the Interfax story, it's just really to create a huge, just a smoke screen
Yes.
to cover up Biden.
Yes. Well, maybe not just cover up Biden.
Well, and I don't think Biden's alone. That's the thing.
Yes,
because
it's
if
a whole
Biden was
bunch.
a lone wolf,
Exactly. They would have thrown him in. Goodbye.
who gives a shit? But everybody's involved because they all get a piece of it. They all have a taste.
There were always rumors about huge financial contributions coming through Ukraine into the Obama campaigns. What if it's rife? What if 50%, maybe 100% of these fuckers in Congress are all in on the deal? They're all in on the take. They're all getting round robin kickbacks. They get a Franklin Templeton investment account, which, by the way, invests. They have a huge Ukraine fund, of course. Maybe there's a whole bunch of people in on this, and then they look at that and go, "Holy crap, we're going to get revealed." What do we do? I don't know. Let's do a TV show.
Impeach Trump.
Let's do a TV show.
Impeach Trump. That'll do it.
All right. So then we have the typical Fox News proofs that this was a big nothing burger. I love playing that. This is in both cases, Republican Mike Turner really got straight to the heart of the matter. Each segment about a minute in length, and that was all we really needed to understand what this was about. First, he's going to ask Ambassador Sondland, the ambassador to the European Union, if he actually ever heard anyone anywhere say that Trump wanted something in return for letting the security assistance flow.
After you testified, Chairman Schiff ran out and gave a press conference and said he gets to impeach the President of the United States because of your testimony. And if you pull up CNN today, right now, their banner says Sondland ties Trump to withholding aid. Is that your testimony today, Ambassador Sondland, that you have evidence that Donald Trump tied the investigations to the aid? Because I don't think you're saying that.
I've said repeatedly, Congressman, I was presuming. I also said that President Trump...
So no one told you, not just the President. Giuliani didn't tell you. Mulvaney didn't tell you. Nobody, Pompeo didn't tell you. Nobody else on this planet told you that Donald Trump was tying aid to these investigations. Is that correct?
I think I already testified.
No, answer the question. Is it correct? No one on this planet told you that Donald Trump was tying this aid to the investigations. Because if your answer is yes, then the chairman's wrong and the headline on CNN is wrong. No one on this planet told you that President Trump was tying aid to investigations. Yes or no?
Yes.
So, you really have no testimony today that ties President Trump to a scheme to withhold aid from Ukraine in exchange for these investigations.
Other than my own presumption.
Which is nothing.
You're worthless. This is no good.
Well, that probably should be highlighted as clip of the day.
Well, then I will take that award in recognition now.
Clip of the day.
Because it really negates the entire testimony that every news source, New York Times, CNN, MSNBC, obviously, even Fox probably.
Oh, yeah. Fox definitely.
But I'm talking about Deutsche Welle, France 24, and all these other guys. They all have spewed the misinformation that this guy tied everything together, and his testimony has sunk Trump. And they all did it. Every news organization around the world.
Well, in fact, after the hearing, they had that 40 minutes to fill before the debate pre-show would start. Here's a little compilage of some of the M5M comments.
Now we know that every fantasy about how corrupt this administration was is actually true.
Our live coverage of the blowtorch testimony this morning from Gordon Sondland. Turns out to be the guy who has offered the most stunning testimony.
In addition to that and the bombshells we've heard about, this was an IED from Mr. Sondland.
As you said, taking a blowtorch to every defense Donald Trump has offered. We don't say this very often anymore because it's rarely true, but I think today changed everything.
It's really true this time. This time is really, really true. Blowtorch testimony. Love me some blowtorch. Who comes up with this? That's a good line.
I like that one.
Blowtorch testimony. So the same Mike Turner questioned Ambassador Volker. Did the president ever mean he wanted something in return Did the Ukrainians ever think he wanted something in return?
It really only comes down to what did the President of the United States intend, and what did he say, and what did the Ukrainians understand or hear? Ambassador Volker, you're one of the first people that we've had in these open public testimony that's had conversations with both. So I get to ask you. You had a meeting with the President of the United States, and you believe that the policy issues that he raised concerning Ukraine were valid, correct?
Yes.
Did the President of the United States ever say to you that he was not going to allow aid for the United States to go to the Ukraine unless there were investigations into Burisma, the Bidens, or the 2016 elections?
No, he did not.
Did the Ukrainians ever tell you that they understood that they would not get a meeting with the President of the United States, a phone call with the President of the United States, military aid, or foreign aid from the United States unless they undertook investigations of Burisma, the Bidens, or the 2016 elections?
No, they did not.
You know, pretty much, Ambassador Volker, you just took apart their entire case.
No, he didn't, because the entire idea is to shape everybody's mind and to make you think that this president is a horrible man, has done, blowtorch testimony shows he's only in it for himself, because this process is not a legal one. It is a political process. You've heard them say this a million times. But what it means is you just have to convince everybody, and, kind of like global warming. That's the whole idea, and it does work eventually. If you get all the mainstream media saying this over and over again, people go like, it's like everyone says it. 97%.
It worked with the promotion of World War II. It works, and it's worked and worked and worked. We've done it with the Gulf of Tonkin. I mean, there was a million.
Tonkin, not Tompkin.
Tomskin.
Tonkin.
The Gulf of
Tonkin.
Tonkin, and it works. It just works. It works like a champ. It always has worked. You just keep it. It only works, by the way, when the media is in cahoots.
And this is
the media wants this. The media, which is, and no matter what anybody likes to say, well, they stopped denying this some years ago, that the media is rife with hardcore Democrat progressives.
Well,
it used to be an argument. Oh, no, but now it's not. Yeah, so what?
But it's both sides. It's when it comes to television, all they want is ratings. That's why you get words like this. This is exactly what the pundits say, in a break during a wrestling match. Oh, blowtorch attack, blowtorch. Did you see the butt slammed him? Butt slam! They need the controversy. They need a fight. That's what people want to watch, which is why I'm very disappointed in how they handled all of this week's televised events, because they did not bring it. They didn't bring the fire. Anyway.
That's largely due to Schiff.
Well, Schiff was out there communicating coded messages. NPR heard it and responded.
Time is now with the minority for 20 minutes. I'm sorry, 33 minutes.
I believe you said 33 minutes. Interesting number there. Daniel Goldman has finished the questioning.
That's NPR catching it, too. 33. Guys,
We got a 33. We got a 33 on the floor. 33 on the floor. You know what it means. Assume the position.
Interesting number, the guy says.
And
wink, wink.
And then what I thought was the funniest bit, Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, address him properly, which I think is in this clip.
Apparently, isn't he a national security guy? He doesn't really have to wear a uniform ever.
No, he was dressed up for the occasion. And his opening statement, he talked about his, he was even asked about his Purple Heart, and so he served. You can't blame him for that. But that was the whole idea: is to dress up and show some official nature. Also, just like the finance minister, he was also asked by Ukraine to several times, publicly even, to serve as Ukraine's defense minister. It's just an interesting detail.
Yeah, that did come out.
He didn't take the gig, but it's just interesting. So then now we have Nunes asking questions, which is clearly drilling down into, hey man, where did all this come from? Who is the whistleblower? Vindman actually opens his mouth and starts to give us a clue as to where the whistleblower is located. And then Schiff steps in.
Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, did you discuss the July 25th phone call with anyone outside the White House on July 25th or the 26th? And if so, with whom?
Yes, I did. My core function is to coordinate U.S. government policy, interagency policy, and I spoke to two individuals with regards to providing some sort of readout of the call.
Two individuals that were not in the White House?
Not in the White House, cleared U.S. government officials with appropriate need to know.
And what agencies were these officials with?
Department of State, Deputy Assistant Secretary George Kent, who is responsible for the portfolio Eastern Europe, including Ukraine, and a individual from the Office of individual in intelligence community.
As you know, the intelligence community has 17 different agencies. What agency was this individual from?
Stop it.
If I could interject here, we don't want to use these proceedings.
It's our time,
I know,
Mr. Chair.
but we need to protect the whistleblower.
Please stop.
I want to make sure that there's no effort to out the whistleblower through the use of these proceedings. If the witness has a good faith belief that this may reveal the identity of the whistleblower, that is not the purpose that we are here for, and I want to advise the witness accordingly.
So, and now, of course, what's interesting is Schiff says that he doesn't even know the whistleblower, doesn't know who he is, yet apparently he does know that when Vindman's about to say office, and maybe he was going to say Office of Management and Budget, Office of the Director of National Intelligence, it's an office of something, there's a number of them, but the minute he's ready to spill the beans, Schiff steps in.
Well, that's interesting since he supposedly doesn't know who it is.
Yeah, exactly. Here's Vindman telling Nunes to shut up.
Mr. Vindman, you testified in your deposition that you did not know the whistleblower.
Ranking member, it's Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, please.
Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, you testified.
Shut up, slave.
What? Play that again. I wasn't expecting it to go that way.
Mr. Vindman,
I didn't see this.
You testified in your deposition that you did not know the whistleblower.
Ranking member, it's Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, please.
Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, you testified.
Shut up. I outrank you. Now, of course, with all the touchy-feely stuff, I could have pulled a million clips about how people felt hurt and it was wrong and no president should subvert our foreign policy, as if that's true, but okay. So it's very easy for...
The president is the foreign policy.
Yes, it's very easy for either side, and when I say side, I'm talking about M5M. It's very easy for them to cherry pick bits and pieces and create a story around it, which is really what this is about. The only solace I take is that the politicians and the M5M are still playing by the old rules. The old rules are give an interview to the New York Times. They'll publish it on Wednesday. Wednesday night it'll be on the CBS 6 o'clock news. Then everyone else will copy that, and that's how you get the narrative. That's how you get the message into the ether. And of course, we have this internet thing, and we have our own ideas now. We're doing our own investigative work. So the rules of the game have changed, but these hearings, these day-long hearings, prove that they are still operating on the old system. So eventually that's not going to work. It may not be this time around, but eventually that's just going to fall apart. And with shows like this, with zero entertainment value, it's going to be over pretty soon. What's funny is the stuff on YouTube where people insert different words. They make funny little clips about it, but like no animated, no agenda. That's how people want to get to this information. And that's how things are exposed. And, I didn't know that moments. So that change is a-coming.
Well, I mean, the kind of thing that really made hay wasn't even on the hearings. It was after a discussion after the hearings, or on one of the shows, I guess it was MSNBC, where Eric Swalwell farted, supposedly. I have the clip.
Yes, Fartgate. I have But wait, before we go there, can I just play 2 clips in relation to the old media, new media? And then, of course, I want to get right back to Fartgate because...
Of course you do. See, this is the thing. This is your old media. I'm new media.
Okay.
And you're proving it.
All right, hold on, new media. Okay, Boomer. By the way, I have magic powers. Everyone's reporting when I say okay, Boomer, their okay Google fires up. So I'm going to use my power right now. Okay, Boomer. Bark like a dog. I tried this earlier with the... In fact, I can probably show you. Here's what happens. Here's what should be happening to thousands of people around the world. Let me see if I can... I got to fire this up because I don't normally have it on. Let me see. Bark like a dog.
Boxer dog.
So hopefully everywhere around the world, Google talking devices start barking like a dog. So maybe we set off a whole Lady and the Tramp thing. All right. So just to show you how the elites think, the way old media is done, here's a quick example. 60 Minutes Australia. Fergie, who used to be married to Randy Andy, the royal, is being interviewed about her book. And, of course, the interviewer digs back into the... remember that, if you recall, a long time ago, video where she's got $40,000 in cash being given to her, secret hidden video in a hotel room, very scandalous, and she just doesn't want to talk about it. And here's how the old elites and the old media handle these situations.
I mean, did you take the money? At one stage, you had $40,000 cash sitting in front of you. Did you take it?
Absolutely, yes, and it was given to me, and I got it in the car and then returned it straight away.
Once the scandal broke?
As soon as I knew it was a scandal, not once it broke, Michael. But don't try and trick me now, because I'm not going to play this game. Delete that bit. John, can you just delete it, please, that bit? Because I don't want to go down this...
Duchess, I'm asking very fair questions of you.
No, just too tabloidy.
John is Sarah's Australian agent, off-screen. This is everything you've written in your book, though.
Yes, I know, but it's the way...
And you're releasing your book, and you've agreed to do the interview.
The book has already been released, and the thing is, I'm not going to go down to this point. I'm going to answer your questions, but that's done. It's finished. I've answered it. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next question.
This is just the starting point of this year in your life that you've written about.
Thank you very much.
It's pivotal. It's what started the whole thing.
Thank you.
Just delete that. Delete it. Delete it right away. Delete it. Go away. Get rid of it. I'm not going to answer these questions. So her ex-husband, Prince Andrew, this is new media. This is how we laugh and learn at the same time. This is the Lucky TV guys. Actually, it's one guy, this guy in Holland, and he does these, they're not really deep fakes. He does the voices, or he'll just the voices of like the Dutch king and queen, and he'll make them say different things. And he did this to Prince Andrew during the BBC interview, where we uncovered that he is actually a reptile and doesn't sweat. But there was enough in that hour-long interview for the Lucky TV star, our guy in the lowlands, to turn it into this.
One of Epstein's accusers, Virginia Roberts, has made allegations against you. She says she dined with you, danced with you. She went on to have sex with you, to have baths, possibly.
There's a slight problem with the sex, because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I have a very tiny, PP, but that's just the way it is. So it's impossible for me to have sex with somebody. I'd love it, but I'm afraid I can't. I'm just not in a position to do so, because but that's very difficult to be able to prove. So that's the best explanation I can give you.
Your Royal Highness, thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, I have a very little pee-pee. I don't know how he did it, but great job. This is the new media. This is what happens. What we do with the elites. We mock you, you fools. Now
just as an aside, since you brought this Holland, so one of our Holland Dutch knights, who I don't know if he wants to be named or not, he sent me a care package from Holland.
Oh.
With a bunch of food in it for Christmas.
Dutch Christmas
including
food.
A giant Sinterklaas cookie.
Yeah, a ginger cookie, brown.
Yeah, big giant thing. Something called stroopwafels.
Stroopwafels, yes, my favorite.
Stroopwafels. By the way, of all the things he sent, those are delicious.
But we've talked about stroopwafels for years on the show. Have you forgotten?
Never had one.
Oh, you never had one? Yeah, it's 2 wafers with some molasses inside, very thin.
Yes, they're really good.
Oh, no, especially...
Everything he sent, by the way, was just a different form of stale bread.
You know, the stroopwafels are really good after you do a shot of that Jambo juice. That's when you want the stroopwafel.
Well, those things are pretty interesting. There's something called, I think it's a peppernoffen?
Pepernoten.
Pepernoffen.
Very small ginger, like half a ball. And that is what the Black Pete's actually throw to the children in the parade or in the classroom, or they'll put some in the kid's shoe.
Yeah. Well, those things are weird. And then there's a thing called a Bacher's Kruppenoter. There are a bunch of they look like chocolate and vanilla. Looks like chocolate and vanilla candies. It looks like giant M&Ms, but inside there's stale bread.
Basically, you're right. A lot of the Dutch traditions are based on stale bread. I think it's a war thing. I don't know. Well, gee, I wish I had some of that goodness, because I love me a good Sinterklaas pakket.
Yeah, well.
That's what we love.
I haven't bitten into that yet. All right,
Fartgate.
Anyway, thanks to Holland for sending that.
Yes. Meanwhile, back to the news of the day.
Fartgate. Now, I don't know, do we know, has this been verified? Did he admit to this, or has this been just doctored?
Well, trust but verify. I'm pretty sure it was real. You can't know I can't know for sure because I wasn't watching it, so I do not know.
Okay, well, if it was real, he's mic'd with a lavalier.
Thank you, but I have the answer to this. This is the whole point. First, let's play the clip. Let's play the clip.
Boom mic.
Let's play the. No, oh my God! When I tell you the answer, you're going to laugh your ass off.
Okay.
First, the clip of Fartgate. We have Chris Matthews, MSNBC, interviewing Eric Swalwell, who just fresh from the hearing,
and he's in the halls of Congress.
And
so far is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election.
So, yes, the analysis that you started is spot on, because when I saw it, I'm just going to assume it's real. This is very simple. This is Chris Williams. What's his name? Wallace Matthews. So he asked the question. They switched to Swalwell. He's sitting on a chair in a studio. He's like, all right, Swalwell, I'm just going to let one rip here for a second. It bounces off the chair. That's why you could hear it. It was Matthews. Matthews dealt it.
All right, here's the problem with that. Swalwell paused.
Well,
like he couldn't talk through the fart.
No. He heard the fart and it scared him. It was a blast. He was like, what the hell did you just do? Someone's fart. No.
Okay, I'm not going to buy that because there's no real time here. There's always a lag, and the lag is long enough that he would have.
I looked at that angle. They have a hardwired connection between the halls of Congress and the studios. There's almost zero lag, but it doesn't take away from the fact that there's no way you can get that direct a sound from flatulence in the halls of Congress with just a boom mic or even with a lavalier. But in a studio against the backdrop of a chair. I mean, especially if it's a leather chair.
Yeah, but he's going to. Okay, well, it's up for debate. But so far, it appears as though this event was not a fake.
No, this is a real event, and they call old dudes like that an old fart for a reason. Come on, it's logical. Old fart. Why is it an old fart? Because old guys fart. It was Matthews.
We need to take some.
And I think it's shameful that he didn't at least tweet and let Swalwell off the hook. Okay, and that's the Fartgate. It didn't last long, but man, it was a nice break in the day, wasn't it?
It was a break.
It was a nice little break. But anyway, I think I know a bit about farts. And especially when mic'd, because you don't want to, there's a lot of things you got to be careful of. And I think Matthews just sat there on his leather chair and like, oh man, while I was answering the question, let me just. And I'm sure.
Well, it seems to me that, it seems that would have happened more often than once with the anchor.
Well,
right? Swalwell looks like a guy who's into public flatulence. That thing could have just been a loud boomer that just echoed through the halls. He may have been proud of himself.
With the palms bursting.
If you look at Eric Swalwell, he looks like the kind of punk guy. He's a punk. He looks like one of those punk jocks who would do something like that in public just as a joke.
Well, in general, I think we should be a lot more open about flatulence. I feel especially bad for women who just will not fart. And they just won't, I understand, the stigma of it all, but I think it hurts women. Literally hurts them because they just won't let it out. And when you're not looking, that's when your woman all of a sudden goes flying around the room like a balloon.
Uh-huh. Okay, onward to the debates.
You brought it up.
I did. You're right. I'm sorry I did.
I'm not.
You're just making me regret it.
On to the debates.
All right, so the debates, of course, were useless, as you mentioned earlier, and I don't have the deep dive. I don't have what you did, which was the dynamite, by the way. It's a good show opener.
Thank you.
It brings in, especially that one clip of the day, which I'd almost want to hear again. It was so good. But so here we got mostly I'm looking for the gaffes and the arguments and the beefs and the kind of crap that goes on. So, of course, I got a gaffe. Now, somebody wrote a note. I'm going to read this.
Now, do you have a Joe gaffe? Because then I can play the jingle if you're...
No, I do have a Joe gaffe. I'm going to start with the Joe gaffe.
He's a little bit creepy, but mostly just sleepy. It's sleepy, creepy Uncle Joe. Joe Biden's Gaffe of the Week.
Okay. So producer Bill writes in. ITM Gents, look at the pics of Biden from the Democrat debate. He looked different and odd on camera.
Oh, his eyes.
I finally figured out they put dark contacts in Biden's eye to hide his sclera, or however you pronounce it, S-C-L-E-R-A.
That's the bleeding of the eyes.
The bleeding eyeball.
Mm-hmm.
In case he gets another bleed like he did during the Clinton town hall.
Yep.
And then he says, I take this as a 100% proof that they're jacking him up with amphetamines.
And at a certain moment, I think the meds kicked in. But if you go, because I got not that note and some other notes from people who said, hey, because we had talked about it. If you go back and look, Joe actually has nice kind of, his normal eyes a couple of years back are clear, kind of, now I'm colorblind, but they look kind of lightish blue to me. Clear.
Yeah, they're good. He is good looking. He's a charmer. He's got those eyes of a guy. Hey, how
blue
you
eyes.
doing?
Hey, baby, how you doing? Look into my eyes.
He's one of those guys.
Yes, he is. And so they were completely dark. Dark. In his left eye is drooping a little bit. And his brain is scrambled. I mean, you could just hear what he's saying. He has no idea where he's going. It's abuse, elder abuse. It is. Elder abuse remains abusive.
I guess it could be.
All right.
So let's go with the Biden. I got two ISOs from this particular clip, which is the Biden gaffes on Medicare. Play the whole clip. You'll hear two gaffes in here that are worth noting.
The fact is that right now, the vast majority of Democrats do not support Medicare for all. It couldn't pass the United States Senate right now with Democrats. It couldn't pass the House. Nancy Pelosi is one of those people who then thinks it makes sense. We should build on Obamacare, provide the plan I put forward before anybody in here, adding a Medicare option in that plan, and not make people choose. Allow people to choose, I should say.
Yeah. I feel bad when I see that. It's just shit. It's shit, man. He needs to go home.
Well, he's always been this way. He does this. This is what years ago when he was vice president, we used to have the drunk or not drunk segment of the show.
Yeah, but then he was plastered and it was funny. Now it's just sad.
Well, so the two gaffes, did you catch both of them?
Possibly.
The first one, what you had to, I didn't catch it the first time I heard it, and then I said, wait, what did he actually say? And I'm reminded, by the way, people, the old timers out there, the old farts, they will remember Professor Irwin Corey, who died, by the way, recently at 102 years old.
This rings a bell. Why does this ring a bell?
Professor Irwin Corey was a double talks comic, one of the few left in the history of comedy. Nobody does it anymore. And so he'd be babbling about something, then he'd say the and he'd be talking along, and then he'd throw double talk in there, and it would sound reasonable, and then he'd put a bunch of academic terms together that made no sense. He fit right in today's world as a comic doing this act. So Professor Irwin Corey kind of did this stuff as a comedy act, but Biden just does it. And I want to play the two ISOs, which are the mistakes. And I'll start with the let me see. I'll start with the one that's the obvious one, which is the one at the end, which is the Biden gaffe shoe. It says showy.
Yeah. It's all right. I understand you after all these years.
And not make people choose. Allow people to choose, I should say.
Yeah, that's it. The problem with that gaffe is it came at the end of his statement and really disempowers everything he just said. That's why it's a huge fail.
Yeah, that's a bad.
That was his payoff. That was the payoff of his plan, and he mucks it up. Anyone would be upset with that.
Now, he does the Irwin Corey thing in the middle, and this is the double talk guy. So before I play it, I want you to listen carefully and then tell me exactly what he said.
Nancy Pelosi is one of those people who then thinks it makes sense.
Okay. I'm glad you did this. Nancy Pelosi, one of those people, I think he said, who tends to make sense, but...
Nancy Pelosi is one of those people who then thinks it makes sense.
Who stem sticks makes sense. What's your problem? It's a great, I understand perfectly what he's saying. Vote for me. Stem things take sense. Do you know what he said?
I think he's trying to say, he just rambled over it because he does this a lot. And a lot of guys do this. This is what Ron Paul used to talk like this. And so does a couple of, there are a number of people that, Nancy Pelosi talks like this.
Yes.
And so Biden
and
talks
Trump,
like
for
this
that
too.
matter.
So he's got something to
Trump
say.
Trump does this too. He does some of this.
Not as bad. But he has something, he wants to say something that's on top of what he just said, and so he's reiterating, but instead of actually going through the process and actually saying everything, he just jumbles it together as some sort of shorthand, and then continues on.
It's so
but if
it's so bad.
Play it one more time,
yeah, sure,
and then you'll hear it's just like Nancy Pelosi is along with me on this. I can't say.
Okay.
Nancy Pelosi is one of those people who then thinks it makes sense.
Yeah, who stands six say makes sense. I totally get it. This was so bad that after the debate, Biden's campaign manager had to do the video. Now, we know that Joe has had some bad luck recently with the self-generated content. We've had the overmodulated microphone. We've had him in a bucket shot on an iPhone. So now they can't trust Joe. He's had a horrible evening. His brain is seeping out through his eyes. And I say that with love. And so the campaign manager has to do the pitch.
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm Joe Biden's campaign manager here at our Philadelphia headquarters. Joe Biden had a great debate tonight. He proved he's ready to be commander-in-chief on day one. So join the team. Chip in $5 now.
Chip in! Chip in! Chip in. Don't participate. Don't get active. Just chip in, slaves. Chip in.
Unbelievable. Yeah, so there was that. And I thought that was the highlight of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Well,
but let's go.
Okay.
Let's go with another one. I got another one here. This is Cory Booker.
Yes.
And this is Booker. And this, by the way, is what the linguist did. That guy who wrote that nasty note that we got two or three shows out of.
Yes.
About the T's and
glotalization.
Follow up today on that. He did this too, and which is an improper. This is using the language for the sole purpose of virtue signaling. And I'm going to tell my story, which I've told before, and I'm sure it's on the compilation of my stories, which is the time that I worked with. I was at Boeing with a guy who was interviewed and did some, he wrote an article for PC World, which was our competitor at PC Magazine. He wrote an article for him, and then they changed some of it, and he couldn't figure out why. And what they changed was, he said, and the representative for the company was blah, 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 blah. And they changed it to, and the spokesperson for the company was blah, 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 blah. So he's questioned, why did you change representative to spokesperson? And the woman copy editor said, we don't use sexist language at the magazine.
Yes, we don't.
And he says, what? Well, how is representative sexist language? She says, oh, well, let me put it this way. We make it clear that we don't use sexist language, and so spokesperson is a better word.
It's called virtue signaling.
It's virtue signaling, and this is like 20, 30 years ago. So this has been going on for a while. So here's Booker's version.
So look, this president has broken norms, as you've said. He uses platforms to demean, degrade, and divide this country in ways that are repugnant and appalling. But the next president, whoever they are, is going to have to be someone who can heal and bring this nation together.
I thought Booker was actually pretty lit last night. He had a couple of good moments, and I missed this one. Thank you. But it would have been cooler if he'd either said they in Spanish or had said Z. That would have been even cooler. Then, he would have gotten a clap out of that one.
So the idea is that you now substitute anything with they instead of the proper words.
Yes.
You don't say who. Let's go play it again so I can get that sentence straight.
Or maybe he's so used to there being two presidents, i.e. two Obamas, that maybe he's just used to talking about they.
So look, this president has broken norms, as you've said. He uses platforms to demean, degrade, and divide this country in ways that are repugnant and appalling. But the next president, whoever they are, is going to have to be someone who can heal and bring this nation together.
Yeah, they were
the next president, whoever they are.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a horde of presidents. It's not going to be like a group.
Wait, shouldn't he have said whoever they is? That would have been better.
Well, okay. You're just ruining my. You're just going to keep eating away.
No, I'm adding to your fantastic segment. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So whoever they are is not correct, but that's what you use because it's been determined by the political police that you say they instead of he or she. So you don't say the next president, whoever he is, the next president, whoever they are, the next president, whoever she is, the next president, whoever they. It's always they. Mm-hmm. When in fact it should. But if you were not going to signal, you'd say the next president, whoever it is.
Yeah, that's a good way to say. Yep.
Or you could, if you want to be,
you say
I think
whatever.
So it doesn't sound so awkward. You'd say the next president, whoever that person is,
or the next president, whatever that is. Because dogs are people too. No, I'm being serious.
I get you're on a roll. So so he did this, and when to me it stood out like a sore thumb. It was like, what do you mean whoever they are?
And they has he in the middle. So even that's
I'm
iffy,
surprised that is not banned for that reason.
Iffy. I liked when Corey smoked Uncle Joe. I thought this was really good.
This week I hear literally.
What makes this funny is that before the debates, I got the pre-stream.
Oh,
it was online,
mm-hmm.
and they had some crazy looking woman who looked like Pink, that singer, interviewing a bunch of millennials about it, and they went to Cory Booker, who is being interviewed before the debates, and he says, the one thing we can't do is condemn each other. We can't say anything bad. We're fellow Democrats.
Of course.
He made a big stink about that.
Well, he got a big laugh out of this.
This week I hear him literally say that I don't think we should legalize marijuana. I thought you might have been high when you said it. and let me tell you.
I am really high.
Marijuana in our country is already legal for privileged people.
I love that. That's a good line, actually, from Booker. Marijuana is already legal for privileged people. People have cancer and other things where they can get medical marijuana. They're extremely privileged.
Yeah, those cancer survivors are
very, very privileged. So privileged, Corey. Exactly. All right.
So I thought the most abhorrent part of this, and this is why I bitched about the 4 women. These 4 women who are doing the headlining thing with Rachel being the queen bee, they made it clear that it was Warren who was going to be the center of attention.
Yeah, it was totally her platform. Yeah. They
just threw everything to her, and they gave her extra time, and it was ridiculous, especially at the beginning. And people say, well, it evened out. It's beside the point. The beginning of the debate is what most people are going to watch, and they're going to tune out. So Warren pretty much had the whole beginning. The first 35 minutes was mostly her. What do you think? Well, let's throw it back to Elizabeth Warren. So they kept her in the spotlight, and then it faded after a while. But everyone was already tuned out by then. The thing that I thought was really sick was they knew, and I guess Kamala was like bitching and moaning about the time that Tulsi 2 or 3 episodes ago jumped on her and condemned her for being a lousy DA and leaving innocent people to rot in prison was their main thing.
Woo!
And so they decided to set Tulsi up so Kamala could excoriate her and call her a phony. And I thought the whole thing was set up to be. It was sick. It was just sick. So I want to play the 2-parter here, which is the beginning, which is they finally, after an hour or so, throw it to Tulsi, but it's a setup for Harris. And this is debate. It says TLSI setup for Harris.
Congresswoman Gabbard, you have criticized Hillary Clinton as the, quote, personification of the...
Yeah, I'm sorry, just to set the clip up even further. This is one of the problems I have with the format. The format is not really a debate. It's asking a-hole questions to each of the candidates. Let's see. What's the controversy? Mary Pete, you got no black people. Tulsi, you're hating on Kamala. It's completely counterproductive.
No, she's hating on Clinton, which is worse.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Clinton. Yes, not even on the stage or even in the race, as far as we know. So that to me was what really made this whole thing kind of offensive.
Congresswoman Gabbard, you have criticized Hillary Clinton as the, quote, personification of the rot that has sickened the Democratic Party. What is the rot you see in the Democratic Party?
That our Democratic Party, unfortunately, is not the party that is of, by, and for the people. It is a party that has been and continues to be influenced by the foreign policy establishment in Washington, represented by Hillary Clinton and others' foreign policy, by the military-industrial complex and other greedy corporate interests. I'm running for president to be the Democratic nominee that rebuilds our Democratic Party, takes it out of their hands, and truly puts it in the hands of the people of this country, a party that actually hears the voices of Americans who are struggling all across this country, and puts it in the hands of veterans and fellow Americans who are calling for an end to this ongoing Bush, Clinton, Trump foreign policy doctrine of regime change wars, overthrowing dictators in other countries, needlessly sending my brothers and sisters in uniform into harm's way to fight in wars that actually undermine our national security and have cost us thousands of American lives. These are wars that have cost us as American taxpayers trillions of dollars since 9/11 alone, dollars that have come out of our pockets, out of our hospitals, out of our schools, out of our infrastructure needs. As president, I will end this foreign policy, end these regime change wars, work to end this new Cold War and arms race, and instead invest our hard-earned taxpayer dollars actually into serving the needs of the American people.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
Right here at home.
Senator Harris, any response?
No reason at all for a response from Harris.
She didn't mention Harris.
Lame.
That's the only time there's a response. Was always if you mention another person, then they have to. You give them the time to respond.
Yep.
So out of the blue, this
Senator Harris,
woman on the dais, throws it to Harris, knowing full well the background on this. Was it a quid pro quo? What was the reason for throwing it to Harris?
Harris needed a bone. She's suffering. She needed some help. So here's your moment to shine, Kamala.
And it did catch her a little bit. I don't know if it caught her completely off guard, but I think
so. I think so.
It seemed to have, and then she kind of laughed about it. And then I didn't surprise she didn't wink at the girl. Maybe she's going to date her.
How about this?
Whatever the case, here we go.
How about this theory? It was already known, hey, we're gonna pitch it to you so you can jump. And I truly believe this goes on. Kamala, we're gonna pitch.
Truly believe or you believe?
No, truly believe. Truly, wholly, all the way in.
You
believe.
know it goes on. You don't believe it goes on.
I know it goes on. No, I don't. I don't know it goes on. I have no proof. But
but you know
I
it goes
know
on.
it goes on. Thank you for correcting the record. Delete that, Charles.
Delete.
So they told her, we're gonna toss it to you so you can trounce all over Tulsi. So just know that that's coming up. And then she's ready for it.
She may have not been aware that this would be the time.
No, that's exactly the point. She didn't. She was,
because this is not a good time.
No, this is the wrong time. Completely wrong. Here we go.
Senator Harris, any response?
Oh, sure.
What? Yeah, exactly. Oh, sure. Yeah, of course I knew this was coming. I just didn't expect it right now.
Senator Harris, any response?
Oh, sure. I think that it's unfortunate that we have someone on the stage.
I'm sorry to stop your clip again. This is exactly what I'm talking about. They should have done 20 versions of this. This is what the people want. The audience was dead throughout almost the entire evening. There's no clapping, no hooting and hollering, only a laugh once in a while when there's some tension, which is what you need for the television show. So this was a good moment, except she was unprepared.
Senator Harris, any response?
Oh, sure. I think that it's unfortunate that we have someone on the stage who is attempting to be the Democratic nominee for President of the United States, who during the Obama administration spent 4 years full-time on Fox News criticizing President Obama.
That's
who
ridiculous,
has spent full-time,
That's
who has spent full-time criticizing people on this stage as affiliated with the Democratic Party. When Donald Trump was elected, not even sworn in, buddied up to Steve Bannon to get a meeting with Donald Trump in the Trump Tower, fails to call a war criminal by what he is as a war criminal, and then spends full time during the course of this campaign, again, criticizing the Democratic Party. What we need on the stage in November is someone who has the ability to win. And by that, we need someone on that stage who has the ability to go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump, and someone who has the ability to rebuild the Obama coalition and bring the party and the nation together. I believe I am that candidate.
Thank you, Senator. Congresswoman Gabbard, I'll give you a chance to respond.
What Senator Harris is doing is unfortunately continuing to traffic in lies and smears and innuendos because she cannot challenge the substance of the argument that I'm making, the leadership and the change that I'm seeking to bring in our foreign policy, which only makes me guess that she will, as president, continue the status quo, continue the Bush-Clinton-Trump foreign policy of regime change wars, which is deeply destructive. This is personal to me because I served in Iraq. I left my seat in the state legislature in Hawaii, volunteered to deploy to Iraq, where I served in a medical unit where every single day I saw the terribly high human cost of war. I take very seriously the responsibility that the president has to serve as commander-in-chief.
Yeah, I had to cut it off. She went on and on.
Yeah, of course.
But Kamala said something in there. She says that Tulsi wouldn't say anything about a war criminal. Was she referring to Trump?
No, Assad of Syria. She's the apologist for Assad. Yeah, she's the apologist. Another programming note. It's time to ditch the white. It's time to ditch the hip-hugging pants with the jacket that accentuates what you don't want to accentuate. I think there could be a different a color of blue that would look good on her. But she's got to
Tulsi.
Yeah, she's got to stop with the white hat stuff. It's now the third debate where she's in the same outfit. It's hey, you want people to vote for you? Listen to the Curry Dvorak Consulting Group.
Well, I agree with that, but no one's going to vote for her anyway.
I might vote for her.
She won't be on a ballot for you.
Oh, okay. Oh, write in. The biggest gaffe of the night. I'm somewhat surprised you didn't catch it, nor have I heard anybody mention this. And this was during the Warren plateau, where she was just involved in everything the four moderators were discussing, or the grillers. The grillers, they're not even moderators, just grilling people. And that was about her wealth tax.
I think the way we achieve our goals and bring our country together is we talk about the things that unite us. And that is that we want to build an America that works for the people, not one that just works for rich folks. You know, I have proposed a 2-cent wealth tax. That is a tax for everybody who has more than $50 billion in assets. Your first $50 billion is free and clear. But your $50 billionth and first dollar, you got to pitch in 2 cents. And when you hit $1 billion, you got to pitch in a few pennies more. Here's the thing.
Yeah, the thing, Liz, you don't understand the difference between millions and billions. She says your first 50 billion. Well, that's like 50 guys.
Did she say that?
Twice. She's not only said that, but then
this is because. Okay, here's the reason I missed it. It's like the reason I missed the Biden gaffe with the Nancy Pelosi, blah, 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 blah. The first time I had to record it. I mean, the way people would know how we do these clips, we record them and then we put them pile them up, and then we start producing the clip for the show.
We let them marinate a little bit.
So you got to listen. Marinate it. You got to listen to it a couple of times, and then when you listen to it over and over again, you start to hear things you didn't hear it originally. Yep. Most of the good finds that we've had are from that process.
Yes.
Now, I didn't record the Warren stuff because pretty much my eyes are glazing over.
I fell asleep too.
And so I'm listening to this, so I did not catch this, but
well, listen again.
I'm hearing it in my head, and I realize she said your first 50 billion.
Well, she says,
which is idiotic.
She says it wrong a couple of times. She says 50 billion, and then she says, so after your first billion. She's just all over the map. She's just confusing it. Listen again.
I think the way we achieve our goals and bring our country together is we talk about the things that unite us. And that is that we want to build an America that works for the people, not one that just works for rich folks. You know, I have proposed a 2-cent wealth tax. That is a tax for everybody who has more than $50 billion in assets. Your first $50 billion is free and clear. But your $50 billionth and first dollar, you got to pitch in 2 cents. And when you hit $1 billion, you got to pitch in a few pennies more. Here's the thing.
So she says 50 billion, and then she says billion again, and then she says when you hit your first billion. So it's I know it's effing.
Yeah.
But someone should have said she is the woman about the trillions of dollars of Medicare. If she can't keep this straight, maybe she meant.
How are you going to be able to be president? You can't even do simple math.
Maybe she meant quadrillion instead of trillion. I don't know, but I think she should have been called. The moderators should have at least corrected her on that. But that shows their bias. They didn't, and you even hear
they're not going to. They all four of them want Elizabeth Warren to be the candidate,
and you heard the crowd respond.
Obvious, and I think it's shameful that MSNBC and NBC put 4 women by no men, no real woman of color. There was, I think, an Indian woman, and just pretty much promoted one candidate. It was ridiculous. One just called it the Elizabeth Warren show.
Yeah, and. Then I do have one more final clip. This was Andrew Yang's disqualification as he was asked what he would say as president when he picked up the phone to speak to Vladimir Putin.
Mr. Yang, if you win the 2020 election, what would you say in your first call with Russian President Vladimir Putin?
It's a fun moment. Well, first I'd say I'm sorry I beat your guy.
Good line. That was funny.
Woo! Yeah!
Not sorry.
And second, I would say the days of meddling in American elections are over, and we will take any undermining of our democratic processes as an act of hostility and aggression. The American people would back me on this. We know that they've found an underbelly and they've been clawing at it, and it's made it so that we can't even trust our own democracy. The third thing I would say is that we're going to live up to our international commitments. We're going to recommit to our partnerships and alliances, including NATO. And it was James Mattis that said that the more you invest in diplomats and diplomacy, the less you have to spend on ammunition. That has to be the path forward to help build.
Okay, stop right there. This was the first thing I took issue with. More, and we're going to do more bureaucrats. That's your plan. More of these a-holes that I watched during the day, during these hearings. Just people all over the place, sending our money to whoever they deem necessary. That's it? More bureaucrats? I don't see that happening.
International commitments. We're going to recommit to our partnerships and alliances, including NATO. And it was James Mattis that said that the more you invest in diplomats and diplomacy, the less you have to spend on ammunition. That has to be the path forward to help build an international consensus, not just against Russia, but also to build a coalition that will help us put pressure on China in terms of their treatment of their ethnic minorities and what's going on in Hong Kong. I want to propose a new world data organization, like a WTO for data, because right now, unfortunately, we're living in a world where data is the new oil and we don't have our arms around it. These are the ways that we'll actually get Russia to the table and make it so they have to join the international community and stop resisting appeals to the world order.
So there it is, disqualification, because he's all in on the new world order. He actually says the world order. Second disqualification, data is not the new oil. It is the new bacon. Everybody knows. And a world data organization, let me understand. What data exactly is he talking about?
The WDO.
Yes. I think he's talking about the data that is collected about from us.
Dossiers is what he's talking about.
Thank you. This is total. He's proposing total control at a world level because the data is us. That data is every single piece of data that they have is you. It is who you are. And if you think about it, once they have all of that data, what is our money really? Just a couple more pieces of data. They're coming for that too. That's your world order, your data world order. Disqualified, Yang. Disqualified.
Well.
No, yes, of course. I know what you're going to say, but I just want to point it out.
I don't even have to say it. You're not voting for him.
No. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say, in the morning to you, the man who put the C in Uncle Joe's black contacts, John C. Caporet.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also in the morning, all boots in the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, ships in the sea, and all the dames and knights out there.
In the morning to our trolls over there at noagendastream.com. Troll Room Unite. How you doing? That's where everybody hangs out during the day. You can always log in to noagendastream.com. There's always somebody there. There's always something to talk about. And there's always a show to listen to. And now also at noagendastream.com, you'll find a link which take you to the Gitmo list so you can find out what you are actually listening to and subscribe to said podcast. And so that's noagendastream.com. In the morning to Mike Riley. This is his second in a row, isn't it?
I think so.
He had the last show as well. He brought us the artwork for episode 1191. The title of that was No Sweat, 1191.noagendanotes.com. And he did now the guy's a pro. He did a professional rendering, cartoonish, of a nice carton of nutsap. Since that came up in the conversation, that milk is on the outs. And people aren't drinking milk anymore.
Yeah, they want to drink nutsap. Slurry. They want to drink a nut slurry. You put it, it's very, you make a slurry out of this crap. You take a bunch of nuts and then you put it into some sort of a machine and then you put in that lecithin or something to make sure that it stays in a kind of a suspension. It's a suspension. And then you give it so many RPMs that it creates what appears to be a milk. And it's just, I don't know why people drink it. What's the point?
It's a substitute for cow pus.
Well, it's not cow pus by the way.
That's what people, I've heard this by many a millennial. Ooh, you drink cow milk? Ooh, that's like drinking pus. I've heard
How's
this.
it like drinking pus?
Go ask the millennial.
Especially if it's a female millennial? They mentioned to her that she is also a mammalian, and she produces this material herself. It will be fed to a baby directly.
It was a man who said this.
Well, did you mention it to him too? These guys, these new millennial guys, don't mind becoming the milkmaid.
Hey, man.
I've read about it.
Boys can have breast milk too, okay?
Seems so.
It's true. It's true fact.
Not the case with our listeners. Let's start with Reed Gilbert.
Can I just mention noagenda.artgenerator.com. Thank you very much, Mike Riley. And we'll see if you can bring on the hat trick for the next show.
Yeah, every time you lay that gauntlet down, every artist comes on board to cut him off.
You've unmasked my evil scheme.
Well, we get a lot of art. Reed Gilbert, meanwhile, from Everett, Washington, gave us $333.33. Dear John and Adam, thank you for the excellent show. I meant to donate earlier, but now that I have, I feel a wave of relief. This is your 1/3 of my lottery winnings.
Wow.
So he won $1,000 in the lottery.
Congratulations. And thank you. Thank you for your courage.
Yeah.
This is
Your
very
perspective of current events is very accurate, and predictions and story trends is worth so much more than I can pay. Best of all, the show is hilarious. Please keep up the fantastic work. It's a double threat. Infotainment and hilarity all in one.
That's right.
Keep up the fantastic work, Reed, and we'll give him a karma.
Of course, we'll give him a karma. I betcha.
You've got karma.
Well, it looks like our Baron, Earl, whatever he is, he's an Earl. David Fugazotto, who's in the middle of Nowhereville, $333.33. And he says, "War and Peace." This is a meta joke.
It's funny.
It's a meta joke that I'm going to explain because I don't think everyone's going to get it. I'm always bitching with these some of these notes that are way too written. They're just too long. They're just going on. I say that, another guy has written War and Peace. So Fugazotto actually writes War and Peace.
Oh, man.
And that's all he does. He says, War and Peace. Thank you for your courage. No jingles, no karma.
That whole family is funny, man.
They're funny guys.
Melody and Isabella.
You funny guy.
Yeah,
funny guy.
They're cool. I like them. I like them a lot.
Night upon Non-Hill Pete. He's our first associate executive producer, $236. And he's in blue. So that means he's getting
upgraded.
Being raised by the X-Files, this show has saved my life. I don't know. I never heard that one before.
I like it.
Baronet, finally, after 10 years.
Wow.
Seen John many times at the Bay Area meetups, but really want an Adam and John Bay Area meetup. Well,
not going to happen.
Keep hoping. Keep hope alive. Make it happen, y'all. Hit 3 now, nights in a mouth, and 2 others. Propagate the formula, folks. Keep up the great work. We love you. Oh. Night upon Non-Hill Pete.
Thank you, Pete, and we'll see you for your upgrade in the second segment today. Thank you for your courage.
Sir James, 202 in Whistler, BC. Oh, Whistler. One of the most beautiful places on earth.
I've skied it.
From the desk of Sir James of Whistler, okay, Boomer? John,
Boomer.
Adam, and I are not boomers. No, that's not true.
Wait, read his note.
Okay, Boomer John, Adam and I are not boomers. That's not true.
Read his note.
Okay. Well, I'm just going by the technicality. Growing up, I was told that we would pay for the boomer retirements as there are so many of them and so few of us from the early 60s. Douglas Copeland comes to, along with his book, Generation X, and we all get demoted to boomer class. Oh, that's interesting. Is that like premium economy on United?
No window, exit seat.
Premium economy on United.
Doesn't recline. Exactly.
Human resource, by the way, which is disgusting. Human resource number 1 has similar dilemma. Too young to be a millennial, too old to be Gen Z, or Zoomers as we call them. I have similar issues with bike frames. too tall for medium, too short for large. We're in-betweeners. Please pity our souls. This weekend also marks the start of the luge World Cup season. I request jobs in luge goat karma for Reed, who is racing in Austria this weekend, home of several mountain goats. Luge goat karma from Sir Chris Wilson. Donation audio link, and he's got it.
Yeah, I have it.
So anyway, so he claims that it was Copland, a Canadian novelist of some reputation, very experimental style. He created it with his book Generation X by, maybe it may have something to do with it. So you might be in betweeners, both of you.
Yeah, but we don't get a badge or a rank. We're just in between.
That's why you should just hook onto the boomers.
I'm still
boomer equals winner.
I'm making my decision this weekend if I want to hook up with the boomers or if I want to hang out with the Xers. I got to think about it.
Well, you can hang out with the Xers. I have a clip later in the show that says you should probably hang out with the Xers more than you do.
No. Anyway, his son Reed is a professional. He's a world-class luger. What are you, man? You loser. I'm a loser.
Loser.
But he actually does quite well, and I want to. Maybe we can find it.
We root for him.
Yes, I want to see. I'd like to know when it's on. If it's on TV, I'd like to see it. I mean, I've watched luging just because it's fun to watch. Can you imagine?
I love luging. It's the funniest thing you've ever seen.
Can you imagine if you're watching luging and there's a guy you know?
I think luge is fun, but the skull is more fun.
You've got karma.
With the panorama luge. And was there a goat scream in there?
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay.
Or that was somebody screaming.
Yeah, well, I'll just add a goat. Just in case. You never know. You can never have too much goat.
Meanwhile, out of Washington, D.C. is Baron Dirty Dick Bangs. And he comes in with $200 for the note. Saw the Beagle, knew what to do. Shouts out that nobody else did. Shouts out to Team ABC. And there's some issues with getting deliveries. Shouts out to Team ABC, Archer Campbell Bangs, age 2. But if you ask him, he'll tell you he's 3. Loves hearing the drone.
Another in-betweener, but he's latching on to the Zoomers.
He's getting onto it, yeah. Loves hearing the drone taking off effect. Barrett Alexander Bangs, age 3, but he'll be turning 4 on 12/7. So let's do an early birthday call out. Oh, we don't have him on the list.
Hold on. Let me do this. So, hold on a second. But he wants to do it today instead of...
That's what he said.
Okay, so that's Barrett Alexander Bangs.
Maybe it'll be on vacation during the month of December.
Okay, turns 4 on the 7th of December. Okay, I'm putting it in now.
Big fan of the goat scream, too. The kid.
Okay.
All kids.
Of course, kids love goats.
Golden Reed Bangs, 6 months, just throwing out smiles and laughs with some babble in between. But the good news is he can say "da-da." Da-da. Thanks for all you do. Team ABC loves John and Adam, as they call it. Daddy is a big fan of the sanity you provide. Baron Dirty Dick Bangs of DC. P.S. Holler if you're ever in town. Top-notch dinner on me. Well, I was going to go down to DC sometime soon.
Oh, nice. Well,
probably not during the winter. And of course, I'm a big talker, as you know.
Yes, this is true. If Colton,
I have actually had set up huge events. I was going to go somewhere. I'm going to take a flight.
You turn around,
and I just stay in bed.
I thought you actually were in the car on the way to the airport, and you turned around.
I've never done that yet.
Oh, or like, I forgot my belt. Screw it. I'm going to go home.
I talk myself out of going someplace usually in the morning when I'm getting up. Especially I have to get up at 5.
Yeah. I'm going to give this whole family...
Why am I taking this trip? I don't really need to go to this thing. And I just don't go. It works out great.
I'm going to give the whole Dirty Dick Bangs family some karma. I would say, though, that if Colton Reed likes saying "dada," then he could also say douchebag. I mean, let's teach the kids something that's useful.
We're teaching Theodore to say douchebag. He's almost got it.
Here is Campbell. This is for you. Here's your drone. Here comes the drone.
You've got karma.
Nothing like a little drone karma.
And finally, Chaz Major in Las Wages, Nevada, $200. And he writes in from Chaz. Thanks for all the media deconstruction. My fiance and I love your show, and it's really helped us maintain sanity. He would like to hear Climate Gate and Goat Karma would be greatly appreciated.
Okie dokie.
To the gate, to the gate, to the Climate Gate.
You've got karma.
Sweetness.
Now, I'm going to mention something now, and I'm not going to mention it in the second reading. But Eric Arsjo, and I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, out of Stockholm, gave us $199.99. And I have to assume that he meant to give us more. He doesn't have a note, though. So,
well, maybe
I'm just going to suggest that we bump him into associate executive producer.
I just pulled a penny out of the pot.
There's no reason for him not to be, unless he doesn't want to be.
Well, maybe he wants to be mentioned but not listed in the show notes.
Well, I'll think about it. Okay. Well,
he's from Sweden. Maybe. Oh, wait. He probably sent it in kroner.
Yeah, it came out this way.
Yeah, and PayPal took a penny or two.
Yeah.
All right, so he probably meant to do 200. It was just the conversion. Maybe he sent it, and the conversion happened later.
But then he would have. You think he would have left a note? But I'll look and send the email see if there's a note in there.
Yeah, because no one ever forgets to send a note. Thank you to our executive producers and associate executive producers. This podcast is produced only because you are producing it. And that means you are sending us expertise, your observations. Many of you have deep fields of expertise, including prison guards. We've got a lot of prison guards telling me about what they think about the Epstein guards, but also clips, artwork, just general ideas, propagating the formula on the Sosh Meds, all of this stuff. And by the grace of God, we have executive and associate executive producers and more financial producers who keep the show going, because that's the only way it's going to work. It's the value for value system. Whatever you think this show is worth to you, just send that to us. And the place to send it is
Dvorak.org/NA.
I think you know exactly what you're going to do now. You're going to vote for Tulsi.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
And then Biden blows 4 tires.
Shut up,
And I think we should mention right now in this context that there is an issue on the horizon as Laura Logan has started a show for Fox Nation, and that show is called No Agenda with Lara Logan. Which was announced, and everybody, many producers saw it, have been emailing us about it, etc. And I'm going to leave this a little bit up to you, John, because you kind of handle these things on the show traditionally, which means we usually don't do anything. But in this case, we might have to. I don't mean that in a derogatory way. It's usually the right thing. It's like, just let Curry rant, we won't do anything. But in this case, we may actually have a problem with the trademark, because I believe Lara Logan has trademarked at least No Agenda with Lara Logan. I don't know if she's trademarked No Agenda.
Not sure. We're going to. We have one of our producers is a trademark attorney.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, we'll mention his firm, and we'll talk about it in the future. He's a good guy who says he'll do some stuff for us to stave this off a little bit. We're probably going to have to register No Agenda trademark as a podcast.
Yeah, radio
which is a
show,
separate category,
and cartoon, Netflix series,
and the cartoon.
Yeah, animated series.
And then they can, they'll have the TV show or something. I don't know. I'm going to discuss it, and we'll take appropriate legal action. But which costs money, by the way. But we're going to get a pro bono free letter and some other free stuff. But at some point, if you're going to go,
and a lapel
it's not going to be free forever.
We get a pro bono letter and a lapel pin, and then we
get a small lapel pin with the name of the attorney on it.
We're off to the races.
Las Vegas.
Here's the problem. I like Lara Logan. We've played clips from her. I like her. She has kind of she had an anti-mainstream stance going on for a while there.
She got kicked off.
This was researched. I mean, and this is the interesting thing. If you just go to any search engine and say, hey, no agenda, you type that in. I mean, the first 5 pages is all us. So there's no way you can miss that there is a show out there called No Agenda. It's just a little irksome. It's like, if she said, hey, she could have reached out. Anything could have. A number of things could have been done. But this just seems a little egregious.
No, arrogant.
Thank you. Arrogant. But she's married to a really wealthy oil guy, I think. So she has a little bit of that. I don't give a shit because she doesn't have to. Because she doesn't have to worry about paying rent like we do. We actually have to pay rent. Disappointing for sure. And normally, I don't like to. I didn't have lawyers in my divorces. I did everything myself, which turned out great for me. Lawyers usually will run off with all the money in these disputes. But there's a clear Lanham Act issue here, confusion for consumers. And sometimes you have to do the legal route. But I really despise it, quite honestly.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me.
Yes.
It doesn't bother me at all.
Someone said, where's the gold brick?
Especially when you get a nice lawyer who knows kind of like especially experienced lawyer in the field specific.
Yes.
That's a big deal, by the way. Just a general interest lawyer, they can do this and that. But most lawyers that do any good, they're very topic specific.
Yeah.
They're a copyright lawyer, a trademark lawyer, they're a real estate lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
And they do certain things, and they do it well because that's all they do, and they get pretty good at it. But they know what buttons to push.
Yes,
or not.
Yes. Do you mind doing a little OTG for a moment?
OTG? You mean OTG?
Yeah, OTG. OTG. I'm an OTG. It's your song, baby.
OTG kind of guy.
That's right, everybody. We're going off the grid.
OTG going OTG.
Because
I'm an OTG kind of guy.
He's an OTG kind of guy. That's right. Off the grid. A report. I have now been using the brand new OTG phone for almost a week. Tomorrow will be the complete first week. I am loving this device. It is even better than I expected. The battery life is phenomenal. The keeper's in Dallas for the next couple of days. She called me last night. It's the first call I did on it because I got no one to talk to. So she called. It's really nice. Even with the hearing aids, now you can use Bluetooth for your hearing aids. It has that too, but I don't. Just flip it open, and which is a nice way to answer. You look at the front and you
Jello.
See. What?
Jello. That's what you say.
Jello.
Yeah, when you answer the phone.
Jello. Okay. It's functioning extremely well. It does everything I need and really nothing very well, which is exactly what you want. And as a part of this exercise, because I think that this phone will be the one, by the way, and apparently AT&T also sells the Go Flip 3, as does T-Mobile, but critical difference, the AT&T version does not include a hotspot for some reason. So you do not want that. You want the hotspot.
Well, that's pretty
lame. Well, of course. They want to sell you their own little hotspots. This thing is about the size of a hotspot when it's folded.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get hot or anything. I try. Ooh, here's a cool bonus. So,
Ooh.
Yeah, ooh. Ooh, I know. I got all jitty for a moment. I'm all jitty about it. Ooh, listen. They have these geolocation services. If you just search for one, say, what's my geolocation? I think it's originally a Google API that they expose, but hundreds of sites have it. And if I go online from my house, from the Wi-Fi on my laptop, and I look at this site, it not only shows that I'm in Austin, Texas, it shows my zip code, and it shows my longitude and latitude. It's pinpointing my house precisely. They know exactly that I'm in that house. When I connect the laptop to the hotspot on the Go Flip 3, it shows me being in Dallas. This is a huge benefit. It's so low tech, this thing. Whatever it's doing, it's not. And maybe that's what they said. It's like we don't hand off geolocation. You can turn it off. And they specifically say geolocation, not GPS. So the minute I check it out through the hotspot, it's probably locating me at some switch or some exchange that T-Mobile has in Dallas. I found that to be nice. I'm like, oh, okay. I'll be in Dallas. Much better.
You ever heard of a VPN?
Yeah, but yes, of course. Gee, John, why don't you explain it to me?
No, I was being sarcastic. I don't need to explain it.
I don't trust the VPNs. Most of them.
Oh, yeah. You and JC, Buzzkill Jr.
He doesn't trust them either. I think they're completely compromised.
He says that, you can use VPN, but you better use 3 of them. Go from one VPN, subscribe to another VPN through that VPN, then subscribe to the third VPN from the other VPN. Oh, brother.
At that point, you're sucking data like a turtle sucks a straw. It's like,
no. Still pretty fast.
Well, I like hearing that he's at least concerned about that. And then we talked briefly about Windows, and Windows being really a spy. It's called Microsoft Advertising. And if you look up their website, they tout all the great things they can target about you based upon what you're doing on your desktop searches, what's happening with Cortana, which you can't remove. Or, of course, don't email me. There's tons of things you can do. So I please. But so there's 2 things.
Yes, you can. You can remove it. I'll show you how.
So there's 2 things.
First, you go into the registry.
Exactly. There's limits to the registry. Make a backup, set a mount point, recovery. No, I'm already done. There is a cool little group. I'm going to the website right now. And this group is called, who are they? It's the O&O Software Group. And they have the O&O Shut Up 10 software tool, an anti-spy tool for Windows. And several people recommended this to me. Now, use at your own risk. I mean, I don't know who the hell these guys are. It's an executable, so anything could be going on with it. But what it does is when you download it, and they seem very transparent on their website about who they are, and it looks legit, let me put it that way. And you fire it up, and it's a control panel of about 75 different switches. And every single switch is a thing that Microsoft does or possibly...
Well, wait, give me the name of this again.
It's O Shut Up 10. Free anti-spy tool for Windows. oo-software.com. And you fire it up, and it shows you about 75 switches that is either spying or compiling data that can be used to spy, and you could select individually which ones you want to have on and off, which is nice because you turn some things off, it could affect the performance. They have recommended settings, so everything, stop everything, block some things. And the machine runs faster. And I have a Surface Go, which is the lowest end model of the Surface tablet combo thingamabobs. I really love the form factor, love that it's a tablet, a nice size tablet. And so that is I installed that. I have not seen any other issues with it. I took their, not the complete block everything, but their advanced recommendation. And the machine, the processor is at an all-time low. So, it cripples a lot of stuff. So that's one thing that I would recommend people take a look at. I can't recommend downloading it, installing it, but I am recommending it because I'm doing it. But I don't know anything else about these guys. The second thing is I went through my annual, let me just figure out how to install Ubuntu. That'll fix my problem. Now, I was not
I've got that down to once every 2 years.
I was not willing to go through that because if you look up the Surface Go and can you run Linux on it, absolutely. Everything works apparently except for the cameras. But when you look at all the 5,000 different versions of installing it, they all pretty much say, well, you have to, the BIOS is a bit tricky. That's where I tune out. I cannot deal with it. I had enough BIOS problems with Windows, let alone putting another operating system on it. So this is a daily driver. I'm not willing to mess with the machine, but I did try virtual machines, and I tried because Windows 10 has some stuff built in, the Windows subsystem for Linux. I tried that with XRDP, remote desktop, and even tried it with VNC. Crap. I tried Hyper-V, which I didn't know that it has Windows 10 has a virtual machine in there, which you have to enable with Hyper-V. Also completely crap. I mean, the performance sucks. What I am still going to try is the virtual machine, the free Oracle virtual box. But really, I think I could totally, for my daily work, I could totally go 100% Linux, but I want it on my Surface Go. I don't want a big laptop. I want it to be native. And when there's a surefire way, I think I'll give it a shot. Or maybe when a new Surface Go comes out and these are a couple $100, they're already quite cheap. I'll get another one and try it on that. But I think not for producing the show, but I think in normal life I could probably get through the day. Because a lot of this stuff is good. I looked at a whole bunch. I installed all kinds of different distros, man. Mint, Unity, Lubuntu, which is...
I think Mint's the one they keep telling you is the one you want for multimedia.
Cinnamon Mint. Yeah.
Cinnamon Mint. Oh, I haven't heard of that one. Well, I've still got a long time to go before I run through this crap again.
Then there's this story, which... is from
you. Get some letters, by the way. We have a Linux nuts out there. Hey.
Well, if anyone wants to install Mint or something good on a Surface Go, and I'll pay for it, of course, because it should only be about $400, even with the 8 gigs and the SSD hard drive. I would love that, but I'm afraid, and I quite honestly, it's very stressful to do this stuff, and it never, and everyone's instructions are never exactly what your machine does. That's just the law of the jungle.
Very annoying.
Very annoying.
Oh yeah, that happens once in a while.
How about this? Browser crashed. Input output error. Channel not available. You should Google how many people have that issue, and there's no fix. So, it's your hard drive. No, it's because it's in the wrong directory. You don't have the right permissions. Hey, just type this: change mod plus XXRDW529. Good to go.
Backslash.
And I know what to do. I understand what all of that does, but it never works exactly right, and that's too bad. This was a news article, and someone was kind enough to send me the USA Today version because I think the way they put it in this video was more of a native ad than it was a note of caution.
In the wake of allegations that numerous Uber and Lyft drivers have sexually assaulted their passengers, Uber has been vocal about their push for added safety. And now the Washington Post reports part of their initiative will allow riders to record audio from their journeys. The feature will prompt riders to report any safety incidents during travel and then submit the audio if there was. But neither riders nor drivers will be able to go back and listen to it. Initially, they're piloting the program in Latin America because, quote, laws in the United States around consent to being recorded can vary from state to state. state, but they hope to test the feature in the U.S. soon as well. It's worth noting the riders may also opt out of the recording service if they prefer. This is just the latest in Uber's push for increased safety during rides with its app, previously introducing an in-app 911 dialer, as well as automated safety check-ins if a ride changes its predetermined course. In 2018, a report by CNN found that 120 people, including 103 Uber and 18 Lyft passengers, had accused drivers of sexual assault.
Hey, that's really a great way to put the news article. Yeah, there was over 100 drivers who were accused of sexual assault.
And
it's
not
great.
only that, but that thing was highly edited, so the guy was
chopped together. Yeah, chopped together.
I hate that. It doesn't flow at all.
That's what they do in ads. That's why it sounded like a native ad. But this recording does raise some questions. Now, already, whenever I get, when was I in a cab? It was not too long ago. Maybe it was in the Netherlands. I don't remember what it was. And then you're sitting in the back and you look forward and there's this giant ring hanging from the roof staring at you, which you know is an infrared camera, which is just recording you. I don't like it. It feels intrusive. I understand why they have it. But
is this only in Holland? Have you seen this elsewhere?
Oh, no, in any cab, in any city. Absolutely. So it happens, everywhere.
You sure you're not in one of those cabs where they ask you questions and you make money?
With karaoke? No.
Cash cab.
Cash cab. No, that wasn't it. So now Uber is going to allow passengers to record, but also will allow the driver to record audio. And you heard in that ad that there are privacy laws. And there are, I think 38 states allow any type of recording, regardless of who has consent, but a number of states do not, most notably California. But in general, we have to start thinking about what is happening with acceptance of these types of recording systems. I think I can make a case that your Uber doorbell being able to track me on the other side of the street or walking by.
It's not an Uber doorbell, it's the
Ring doorbell is a violation because you're not just watching, you're recording it. And I know it's...
Oh, that's a good point.
Well, if you look it up, the lawyers have different opinions because you have a reasonable expectation of privacy when you're walking around. If you walk up to someone's door, that reasonable expectation diminishes. But these things go much further. And also you have guests, and every article you read about this from a lawyer says you should probably disclose to your guests that you're taping them. This acceptance is what I'm concerned about, because this is where Yang comes in with his World Data Organization. Let's bring it all into one place.
WDO.
That's right. Bring it all in. And then Dame Sarah, this will be, I think that's the last bit here. Dame Sarah from Down Under, she's a very popular host of a very popular morning show, Studio 10. She is an official dame. Is she probably, is she over a dame now? Does she have another title?
I know she's, I
think she's on her way to maybe Viscountess or something. I'm not sure.
We'll find. She'll tell us.
Well, I like what she's doing here. Just a minute of the topic. She's bringing OTG to the Down Under.
Australia's consumer watchdog has issued a stark warning over Google's plan to buy Fitbit. The proposed $3 billion acquisition of the exercise tracker has prompted the ACCC chair, Rod Sims, to warn consumers over their health data, which is an increasingly valuable commodity. Google has said that Fitbit users' health data would not be sold or used for its ads, but Sims flagged previous cases where digital platforms changed their stance years down the track. Do you trust tech giants to take our health data and not sell it on?
No. Absolutely not. And they do. Every time they go, when it comes in, they go, well, we wouldn't do that. And then when everybody stopped thinking about it, they change the terms and conditions. Hands up anyone in the history of mankind who reads the terms and conditions.
That's right.
All the way through, they change it and they say, oh, by the way, we're going to start selling it now when everybody doesn't notice. And then it's too late.
Well, what they say is that we have absolutely no plans to use your health data.
Yeah.
And then after that, they get plans.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Way to go, Dame Sarah. Propagating the OTG.
It's illegal in this country to do that, but it's going to happen.
Oh, of course it's going to happen. But what they're saying is not untrue. They're not going to sell the data. They're going to compile it, use it, share it with the World Data Organization, and just add it to your portfolio, your file, your dossier. So good on Dame Sarah for propagating the formula down under. I like that. And the final thing, somewhat concerning. I think I told you that I met a couple of the millennial kids in Holland who were doing the Google rating, which means, they have the your money or your life rule. So they are actually the ones determining what is a good result for Google voice searches. So if you say, are vaccines safe? You're not going to get Mike the Health Ranger. No, they're going to choose WebMD for you. So it is actually completely unqualified people who are making these decisions. But that's not the reason I bring it up. Right now, we have Sinterklaas and the racist Black Pete policy in the Netherlands of the helpers of St. Nicholas. And, this is an ongoing, are we now in our 6th year, I believe. What started as just a way to rile people up for reparations for the colonies the Dutch dominated hundreds of years ago has now turned into a full-blown social war where kids are there waiting for the good Saint Nick to come in with his Black Pete helpers, and adults are yelling and screaming and protesting and fighting with each other. It's a shit show. But the worst part is these kids who are listening to the Google searches one of them's about ready to give up. The racist questions the Dutch are asking answers to regarding this issue is apparently unparalleled. Just the way they're asking. This is according to
the two millennials.
Yes, who are actually hearing the Google Assistant or the Hey Boomer, the Hey Google queries. And the queries themselves are incredibly racist and hateful, extremely hateful. And these kids are like, I don't think I can do this. Is this what our Dutch society has become?
What are they getting paid an hour?
I think the equivalent is about $13 an hour.
Yeah, go find something else to do.
It's very unhealthy. That's what I said too. I said, tell your friends. They shouldn't do that. And of course, once you really find out what's going on inside people's minds, it's a little disheartening.
Well, they're not no agenda show listeners.
Well, this is what will help them. Exactly.
All right, that's the OTG segment.
That's the OTG.
Well, I got something. My blue phone, a $75 phone.
Yeah.
So the thing, it boots up, and then it says, hey, you got no SIM card. So, no, I got a SIM card. Then it drops dead.
What?
Yeah.
It wouldn't even let you get past the boot?
No, I'm just dead as we speak. I have to tear it open, take the battery out. Luckily, I can do that, if you can't take a battery out of your phone, you got a lousy phone.
Yeah.
And I think I may be able to get a reboot again, but I don't understand what happened. I'm working on it. But the thing is, I don't use the phone that much that I care.
Well, did you get it working again, or is it still bricked?
No, it's dead as we speak.
It's bricked because it doesn't recognize your SIM.
Well, yeah, but it bricked, but it won't boot now. It won't turn on. Yeah. I'll have a report on Sunday.
I think the true OTG person actually uses the blue phone without the battery. Just have it with you and just consult it and just hold it up to your ear. In fact, I think you've stumbled upon the ultimate OTG phone.
Yeah.
It's a blue phone with no battery.
Hold on a second. I got to get this call. I didn't hear it ring. It's vibrating. Hold on a second.
It's telepathic. It's telepathic. Exactly.
Well, since we're closing this segment, I should mention since we just mentioned Australia, I do have an Oz story.
Okay.
Which I thought was interesting because it reminds me of, the Chinese they're making a lot of errors here in judgment. But let's play this. A couple of MPs from Australia have been refused entry into China, even though they were invited to some walkthrough for something or other, like the Chinese do constantly. But play this because it's got some interesting little tidbits in it.
Well, two government MPs who were denied visas for China say they will not back down from their criticisms of Beijing. The Chinese embassy says the pair could visit in future if they repent and redress their so-called mistakes.
Change of ideas.
Liberal MP Andrew Hastie is standing firm.
And there will be no repentance, no apology. Let me be very clear. We will not repent for standing up for Australian sovereignty, our values, our interests, and for those who can't speak for themselves.
After he and fellow China critic Senator James Paterson were denied visas for a study tour. The Chinese embassy says the door will be open if they repent and redress their mistakes.
They want a one-way conversation. We were surprised not to be invited, surprised by the strength of the condemnation of us.
Andrew Hastie and James Paterson have been critical of Beijing's attempts to exert influence in Australia and its human rights record.
There won't be any repenting.
Far from backing down, both criticised China's treatment of Muslim minorities following a major leak of Communist Party documents to the New York Times, shedding light on mass detention and indoctrination camps in China's West.
The New York Times report is most troubling because it reveals exactly what the regime is thinking on the inside. Up to 1 million Muslims are detained in internment camps for re-education, and that's a profoundly disturbing thing.
The Foreign Minister Marise Payne has described the report as disturbing. She says Australia has previously raised concerns with China and will continue to do so.
I like this clip for a particular reason. I don't know if you wanted to say anything about it first.
No, go ahead.
This is now I've heard this a couple of times, and I'm glad that we're now hearing it from down under. And I believe we even heard it in our earlier clips from the debate. This 1 million Muslims incarcerated. This is a meme. It's being pushed, and there's a reason for it. And I think it's going to be used. It's being pushed and pushed. You got a million Muslims, the Uyghurs, the Uyghurs, what are they called?
Yeah,
the Uyghurs, the Uyghurs,
Chant Uyghur,
chunk Uyghurs. Something's going on with that, and there's some movement afoot that we're not privy to yet. It will unfold itself, but I think it's a coming. It may be used as a wedge. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, there's something's up with this. Now, the reason I have the clip, because I got a kick out of this. Well, if they repent and redress.
Repent.
Oh, yeah, so sorry we said there's anything bad.
Right, done. Repentage done.
Not quite sure what that even means, but it sounds very Chinesey. But since we're just discussing this sort of bigger pictures, I want to get this one out of the way, which is my list of pretty much, I mean, Zimbabwe is one of them. I don't have a clip from it, but that's another rioting.
Oh, wait, do you want to do the world is on fire or?
Well, the world is on fire, so I do have one clip. A new part of the world's on fire.
Well, hold on a second. Just tell me where the part of the world is first.
This is Georgia.
Georgia. Okay, hold on a second.
No Agenda with Adam Curry and John C. Dvorak.
Your world's on fire! Iranians are taking to the streets again to protest gasoline price hike. Bougainville may become a new country. They want to separate. It's crazy over there in Georgia!
It's to Georgia now, and thousands have taken to the streets of the Georgian capital, Tbilisi, for days after a parliament there failed to pass a bill to change the electoral system to proportional representation. Earlier this week, police cleared protesters using tear gas and water cannon. Demonstrators say the electoral system is unfair and puts too much power in the hands of the ruling party.
That's right. It's burning all around the world. Your world is burning in under 30 seconds. It's working on it.
Seems like a lot of work.
Nah, I like it. People seem to like the segment.
So there's actually about a 5-minute report on this. Georgia has all these issues that's going on. And you have to wonder if Newland is over there.
She might be. She might be. We've lost track of her.
I mean, it's just as if we got a president of the United States that has his own ideas about foreign policy, and he wants to stop a lot of this stuff, but that's still going on. Nothing's stopping anything. No. And when he tries to stop this stuff, he's all of a sudden accused of trying to bust Biden in Ukraine, which is again, sketchy enough. But yeah, this is still going on. In fact, it's maybe worse. If we really start listing the countries where all hell's breaking loose, there's quite a few of them.
And China, man, or Hong Kong. Whew.
And Hong Kong is a mess.
Yeah.
And they won't let this Carrie Lam quit.
I don't understand. Well, yes, I do understand. China's asshole!
So it's definitely, they're not playing this correctly. And like I made a point in the newsletter, the Chinese have this reputation for being these long-term thinkers, and if you do a deal with China, they're always going to be there for you because you're going to be, this thing long-term. But this is a long-term deal they did with the UK to do Hong Kong, which was supposed to give Hong Kong independence for 50 years from 1997 with the turnover year to 2047, and the Chinese aren't abiding by this. So what kind of long-term deal can you do with the Chinese if they can't even do a deal like this and make it stick?
Well, the British Army, the British Navy shall have to sail and go kick their ass.
Well, that'd be something to see.
Yes. Hey, the thing that conspiracy theories are made of, I really love this one, was the president's unscheduled stop to Walter Reed Medical Hospital.
Yeah, this had a couple of good background stories.
I got the. Do you have anything on? I got a CNN report. Do you have anything?
I don't have a report on it, but unless it mentions he might have been poisoned.
Yes, and the food taster figured. Well, let's hear the report.
The food taster's in the hospital.
Let's hear the report.
One other thing, I thought I'd bring it up while we're here.
I'm sorry. This is from CNN, but this is Trump who went out of his way to mention that this was just. What are you all nuts about this? What's going on?
One other thing, I thought I'd bring it up while we're here. I went for a physical on Saturday. My wife said, "Oh, darling, that's wonderful," because I had some extra time. Because it looks like January could be a busy month if she's able to get the vote, which she should be able to. Woman's highly overrated. Woman is highly incompetent. And if she's able to get the vote, so maybe she'll get it by using USMCA. But I went for a physical. And I came back. My wife said, "Darling, are you okay? What's wrong?" "Oh, they're reporting you may have had a heart attack." I said, "Why did I have a heart attack?" "Because you went to Walter Reed Medical Center. That's where we go when we get the physicals." I said, "I was only there for a very short period of time. I went, did a very routine, just a piece of it. The rest of it takes place in January. Did a very routine physical, visited the family, visited a couple of groups, but visited the family of a young soldier who was very badly injured, who was in the operating room. I toured the hospital for a little while. I was out of there very quickly. I got back home."
Okay, I'm going to call bullcrap on almost all of this. First of all, interesting that he says Nancy Pelosi may use USMCA to get the impeachment vote. He kind of slipped that in there. Did you check? Did you catch that?
I heard that, but what is he talking? And I didn't realize he was talking about Nancy. I thought he was talking about someone else. He did. He slipped it in too quickly.
Yeah. So the USMCA is the revamp of NAFTA. It's the United States, Canada, Mexico agreement, which Republicans have been bitching about for quite a while now. It's like, why won't you bring that to the floor? We should vote on this. Everyone wants to pass it. But in order to get the impeachment vote, and I don't think they need that, because if all Democrats vote to impeach or the articles of impeachment.
No, they don't need it at all. This is nonsense.
Right. But I don't know why he slipped it in there, but he did. Second of all.
Because they have the votes. They're just afraid of pulling the trigger.
No, they're not. They're totally going to pull the trigger. They're going to do the vote. They have to. So otherwise, all the Ukraine scandal comes out. They got to do something. But they have to time it right.
Well, that's going to come out anyway. Well, in fact, here's the decision. You got a couple of Democrats. One of them says, "Well, we should probably just get the impeachment over with and do our job the Senate's going to vote. Okay, I'll be one of the guys. I'll be advocating. We're going to talk to each other. You go."
Well, what side am I on?
I'm going to say right now we should do the impeachment vote, get it out of the way. If the Senate rejects it, it's fine.
No. We need to keep the media show going as long as possible. So
it's a fail. It's not working. We got to get this out. We got to get the vote done.
We can't give Trump an entire year to unmask the shenanigans in Ukraine. He needs to be stalled. We need to dominate the media and every podcast.
How does not running? Here's what's going to happen. we're going to look like idiots if we don't vote to impeach because we've been talking a big game and doing nothing.
We're going to do it, but we just have to we need a
when
little more
runway.
runway.
Do it then?
We're going to do it in February. And then we need to make sure that Turtle McConnell puts it.
What's different from February from what we have today?
We need to stall. We need the media. We need to hijack the media. We cannot have anyone doing any stories about anything but impeaching Trump. That's the mission. That's it. We can't have any. People are getting awfully close. They're going to figure out Hunter. They're going to figure out Joe. They're going to figure it out. It's new shit has come to light. We have to own and dominate the media, which is working pretty well so far.
It hasn't worked well at all. And secondly, let the Biden stuff. It should go out earlier, not later. What happens if it comes up just before they're busted wide open, like a day before the election? You can't. This is what happened to Hillary when Comey came out and said, well, we got to reopen the investigation. This is going to be screw Joe. No, we got to get this done now.
Okay.
I think there's a debate going on.
I bet there is.
The debate we had is the debate that's going on.
I think you're right. But now back to the president and his health intermission. I don't know what else to call it. Health scare. I mean, yes. Yeah. I mean, this is not common. That it's unscheduled. As you say, possible time-delayed chemical agent. The food tester apparently is gravely ill, according to Ranger Mike. Natural news. But I found that CNN had the. I mean, you want a conspiracy? You want to hear some great conspiracy? Bring on the CNN doctor who's there with Aaron Burnett, and man, the president's on his deathbed.
Does it sound plausible to you that this would be part of his routine physical?
Absolute nonsense. You don't take a part of your physical one time and then a month or two later take another part of your physical. I've never heard of anything like that. And also, his physical, for the kinds of things he needs, the whole thing could have been done at the White House. There was no reason. Blood tests, electrocardiogram, everything could have been done. He's had stress tests done before. He's had. There's no procedure that is a part of a routine exam that could not have been done in the White House. So that's absolute balderdash. I think he had
balderdash. Wow.
What? Now that's okay, Boomer? I think that's appropriate here. Balderdash.
Exam.
Wow.
Here it comes again.
Not been done in the White House. So that's absolute balderdash. I think he had what I would call not an emergency necessarily, but an urgency. Something went wrong. Now, maybe he had chest pain. Maybe he had some neurological. I think he is someone who has some neurological issues, which no one has ever really addressed. The other thing is, the cardiologist, after his last physical exam, said that he was in the upper 20% in terms of cardiovascular risk. So he has got some real risk factors. His inability to say words sometimes worries me tremendously. He is having trouble word finding when he said United States instead of United States. These aren't words. These aren't slips of the tongue. These are words he can't find them. And this is happening over and over again. Comedians joke about it, but it's not a joking matter. I think there is a neurological issue that is not being addressed. And if he had an MRI of his head over there, I would be very pleased because I think he needs it. The worry that I have is that maybe he's having small strokes. And, we had that once before in the White House when Woodrow Wilson was president. His inability to find words is peculiar and has not been explained. And I think one has to think of it as a possible neurological issue.
There you go. He's almost dead.
Well, of course, we've explained the United States was like loose dentures.
Loose dentures, or perhaps, what else do we have? It was...
There's something else. He was taking something that would make him slur a little bit.
Yeah, like
they may
meth.
be drugging him for all we know.
Meth.
Meth.
Anything's possible.
United States, yeah. But it's fine with Biden.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, there's no problem at all.
He's healthy as anybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Biden's. If you look at Biden,
there's also another thing that came up. Little conspiratorial thing about Bernie's forehead.
Oh, interesting. I was going to say something about Biden's forehead. What about Bernie's forehead?
Apparently, they did some analysis of the debate, and his forehead is normally very wrinkled, and it was smooth, as though he'd either had a
little tox.
It could be Botox.
Botox.
It's possible. I would guess it was Botox, which will also affect the way it affects your emotions in a negative way.
Sure. It can, yeah.
And yeah, it turns out that if you can't express yourself with facial expressions, you actually can't feel those emotions anymore.
Yes, we have discussed this on the show.
We've had it on the show.
If you can't laugh, then you can't laugh.
Or it was like maybe he's getting some work done. It's possible.
How about it? If you look at Joe's head straight on from the front, and when he's looking down a little bit, he has the skull bone or plate, I guess, on the front of his head makes him look a lot like Quark from Deep Space Nine.
Who?
Was it Quark? Who was one of those little dudes who are they're always in the bar, and they're always
the little Ferengi.
Ferengi, yeah, he looks just like one of those Ferengis. You got to look at a picture.
Well, that's because he had. I think after you have your head the top chopped off twice, it will form something's got to happen there when the bone heals.
Yeah,
think.
Yeah, but it was just Ferengi. Quark, yes, he was the bartender. That's what it was.
Quark.
Yeah, he looks a lot like him.
Yeah.
Just one of those no agenda observations.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
Another time is flying episode.
I know, man.
Well, let's thank a few people while we can.
Okay.
I'll re-mention Eric Arjo from Stockholm, $199.99. John Strickland. Hold on a second. These are falling. John Strickland in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. I'm sorry. Yes, in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, 12345. Corey Ainsworth in Edgerton, Wisconsin. It's going to be knighted or something here. Like, thanks for all the value provided.
Wait,
the donations take me to knighthood.
Corey Ainsworth. Yes, Corey will be knighted today. And I don't think Corey had any special requests for the round table, but this donation brings me to knighthood. Accounting attached. Please knight me, Sir Data Ops, the Wisconsin Millennial. You mentioned last episode that there would be trouble for the video games industry ahead. I believe this is related to children gambling. Oh. Wikipedia describes this on its loot box page, if you're curious. Well, I'll look at that later. I am somewhat curious. Well, I can't wait to see you on the podium for your official pronunciation.
Huh. Anything about this?
What?
The children being gamblers?
Well, we have to look into it. So we don't actually know yet.
Okay. Do we have on the night list, is Ian Bussman on there?
Yes, he is.
Okay. Just checking.
I don't know if it's Ian or Ian.
Ian.
Okay. All right.
Who would say anything other than that? Alexander Sulzberger, 8008. William Alston, 8008 in Baltimore. Boob, he says.
And he wants Travel Goat Scream Karma for all the visiting family. Yes, we'll do that at the end. You bet.
You bet. Miguel Gonzalez or Gonzalez, depends on what part of the world he's from. He wants some house restoration karma. We'll put that at the end, 69.69.
Yeah, but hold on a second. He says, also, can I call out both Adam and John as douchebags?
Oh, I'm not going to read that.
What the hell?
You guys do to the left what the left does to Trump. Any signs of right-wing thinking means that they call him out as a Nazi. In your case, you call out any left-winger thought as Marxist socialist.
Bullshit.
We do not.
Bullshit. That's not true. Find it. please send me all the episodes where we call people a Marxist/socialist. No. And then he goes on.
We do when they call themselves that, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She calls herself a socialist.
In fact,
Bernie calls himself a socialist.
In fact, I have a clip of AOC.
Who here is ready for the revolution? You pigs in human clothing!
That's actually AOC. That's Sandy at the beginning. She's the same girl.
When you said, at the end of the show, I'll do an aside here for the audience. At the end of the last show, you said that they sounded the same on that clip and the pigs clip.
Yep. And there it is.
And I thought to myself, I don't think they sound that much the same. But now that you play it.
Isn't that crazy how much she sounds like her?
It sounds exactly the same. Play it
again. Who here is ready for the revolution? You pigs in human clothing!
It's her, man.
Unbelievable.
It's her. It's her. Thank you, Sir Dave Thompson, for putting that together and sending it to me. Anyway, back to the note at hand. I really appreciate Miguel donating and bitching, and I think it's worthwhile to read it.
By the way, you notice he's in the UK.
Yes, he's in the UK. Very socialist, Marxist. No, Adam, the Netherlands were never socialist. Nor is Sweden, nor France, nor is Gavin Newsom. Okay. I've never said Sweden is socialist. France maybe. Gavin Newsom, never. Austin City Council, I don't think so. But the Netherlands, yes, we're totally socialist. The Social Democrats. Oh, okay, whatever. I live there. I don't think you live there, Miguel. At best, they fall under the big Social Democrat family. Okay. Those that accept capitalism believe they can broker a deal between capital and workers. Yeah, it's called socialist and commies.
Wait, hold on a second. Most of these guys do not accept capitalism. If you look at the signage that they have on there,
really,
it's got no capitalism. End capitalism. Capitalism is the patriarchy. So yes. I'm not buying any.
I'm not
of this.
buying. Well, first of all, I'm offended that he says that we call everyone, if you, Ben Shapiro, Crowder, Alex Jones, go to all those guys. You can't pin us that whenever there's any signs of crazy thinking, you call them a Marxist. It's just not true. And yes, the Netherlands is everything's socialized.
Onward.
Oh, anyway, thank you, Miguel. Let me read that.
Anyone who wants to donate $69.69 and complain to us, we'll pick it up.
Let me just read the final bit of his note. At best, they fall into the big Social Democrat family, those that accept capitalism and believe they can broker a deal between capital and workers. How's that working out? Marxism just points out that there's a problem with capitalism, the rate of profit as a tendency to go to zero, whatever that means. And when it reaches zero, capitalism will no longer be possible and a communist society will then be possible. It may be useful to read this so producers be informed or disagree. Love the show. Okay. I don't understand exactly what you're saying at the end there, Miguel, but you donate with something like that, you're going to get it read and appreciate it. I really can't agree with your accusation, though.
Okay, we'll read the next one. Tyler Netch in Mount Vernon, Washington, 6033, and he has an interesting note I want to read. Jobs karma work. After getting laid off from my job making rubber stamps, I'm now working in a local government agency. Stay there until the depression's over. I got the right offer after I was laid off. That's why it says jobs karma worked. Mm-hmm. I've had to switch from listening to the podcast in my headphones while huffing rubber smoke to listening in the car, but I'm glad I can still tune in and pay the bills. My last name's rhymes with the wretch.
Well, thank you. I'm so happy to hear that. And
$60.33.
Here's the question. Was this a OG jobs karma, or was it a Trump karma, or a combo karma?
It was a regular karma, I'm sure.
All right, well, we need to know these things. I need to know if the other karmas work.
Well, it's the other karma guys who have to report back.
And they haven't reported, so I guess not. Oh, fuck.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry. It was confusing. It said, second-time donor, please do not use my real name. And apparently she gave her pseudonym later in the sentence. I was just trying to protect the innocent.
You're trying to predict. Yeah. Jenna Tolles in Chandler, Arizona, $59.99. Miguel Lopez. Wait a minute, another Miguel. Oh, this is a different one.
He's from Flanders, New Jersey.
Flanders, New Jersey.
That's right.
I'm doing my part. There can only be one agenda.
That's right.
Dean Roker, $55.10. Subode Peth in Metairie, Louisiana, $55.10.
He's got a birthday call out for his son, who turned 16 on the 18th. We'll do that.
Sir Acid of the Scandinavian Woods, $55.10. Keith Stevens, who knows, $55.10. Love you guys. Been a while since I last donated. Apparently, since the Club 33 burnt down, he hasn't donated. Todd of the Nimbin Hinterland, and that was $55.10, double nickels on the dime. Todd of the Nimbin Hinterland is $52.25, another birthday. Sebastian Louis de Haas.
Very good.
In the Netherlands, $52. Andrew Gusick in Greensboro, North Carolina, $50. The following people are all $50 donors, starting with Andrew, following Robert Case in Mill Spring, North Carolina, Thomas Tollett in Shawnee, Oklahoma, Daniel Leboy in Bath, Michigan, Brad Taylor in Duval, Wisconsin, Scott Lavender in Montgomery, Texas, Sir Scott, if I'm not mistaken, Scott Fuller in Cumming, Georgia, Jennifer Moore in Huntley, KC9VJC73 is to Jennifer, Lady Ham, Julian Chick, 50, Sir George Wouchette, I'm thinking, in Universal City, Texas. And that concludes our list of producers for show 1192. I want to thank each and every one of them for keeping the show going.
Yes. We'd actually like to come to your house and thank you, each and every one of you. And I mean that. If it were possible, I would do it. Thank you so much. Thank you to the people who came in under $50. Many of you on our subscription programs, which really do help. If you're a regular donator, consider a donator. If you're a regular donor, consider getting one of those subscriptions as well. If everyone did that, the segments would be shorter. Then we'd be okay. Boomer. Also, I see under the 50 level at the anonymity number, please send out mental health karma to my colleague, his daughter and family. His 17-year-old daughter attempted suicide this past weekend. The family's struggling to make sense of it all. So I won't mention who said this because he's under 50 at the $49.99, even though it's just a night name, but that's appreciated. There was also another, let me see, something we had to clear up here. Yes. You recall on the last show we had an anonymous Insta-Night, which came from China and was meant. We didn't know if it was from somebody.
We didn't know what to do.
We didn't. So this was from an anonymous donor in China who wrote to me in Dutch, and he said he would like to nominate Hubert Poels for a knighthood with his donation. Hubert Poels, so he's clearly Dutch, and he is the one who hit our anonymous donor in the mouth. He says the show was super. I love it. Could you please knight him Knight of South China? And, of course, I would like to give him the usual hookers and blow, but also some vape juice, as vaping will probably be banned in China, which we might have time to talk about later on. So we'll make sure we do that. We will make we'll make Hubert Poels the Knight of South China. But first, we need to do some karmas and thank all of you very, very much for supporting the show. It is our value for value model. And as you can see, people assign different value to the show. They send it to us, and that's how the system works. 12 years, and we're still going reasonably strong. Please help us out at
Dvorak.org/NA.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
21st 1st of November, 2019. Here's your birthday list for the No Agenda Show. We love saying happy birthday, and we say happy birthday to Mark Johnson, who turned 63 years old today. Saboth Peth, his son Ben, turned 16 on the 18th, so belated happy birthday. Happy birthday to Todd of the Nimbin Hinterland, and Barrett Alexander Bangs is 3, but he'll be turning 4 on the 7th of December. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe, including Uncle John and Uncle Adam.
Title changes, turn and face the slate. Title changes, don't want to be a douchebag. Title changes.
That's right, we got a title change. We have Knight upon Non-Hill Pete ups his peerage level to that of Baronet, thanks to another aggregated $1,000 in total support of the No Agenda Show. Thank you very much, Baronet upon Non-Hill Pete. We thank you very much for your courage. And I think we should probably do a quick little check-in with the No Agenda meetups.
Who here is ready for the revolution?
Sorry.
You pigs in human clothing!
That's close enough. That's right, everybody. It's a party. The meetups for tomorrow, The Hague in the Netherlands. That will be at 6 o'clock local time. The Fiddler in Den Haag. Robin the Dunes of The Hague will be your host. Saturday, Kamloops, BC, Canada. I got a nasty note, by the way. Someone said, "Stop calling my country Scandinavia. It's rude." So I'm going to stop doing that. That'll be Saturday.
Hey, a bunch of the Scandinavians are using the term. They think it's funny. Where's this humorless guy from?
Scandinavia.
Huh.
Sunday, the Lowlands in Utrecht, the Netherlands. Sir Hendrik will be organizing that. Also, Aggieland. Aggieland is the arch enemy, the Aggies up there, of the Austinites, of the Longhorns. But I personally love College Station. Bryant College Station, it's a nice place. You got some good museums up there near the university. Moe's Irish Pub is where you want to meet. Joshua McLean says he already has 3 people he'd like to see more. Let's see if the Aggies if they have no agenda. Sydney, Australia, on Sunday. This will be the second official meetup for the Sydney-based No Agenda producers, located in Marrickville. That will be Sunday afternoon at the Gasoline Pony. And and that's it for what's coming up, and I'll do the rest on Sunday for you. And now we have, let me see, 1, 2, we have 3 nights. So if you can.
Got it.
Thank you. I was waiting for it. I'll grab. Oh, here it is. Here, I got it now. Corey Ainsworth, Hubert Pools, all of you up on the podium. Gentlemen, thanks to your contributions, and contributions in your name up to the amount of $1,000 makes you a Knight of the No Agenda Roundtable. We're happy to have you here, and I'm very proud to pronounce the Sir McQueen of Blighttown, Sir Data Ops, the Wisconsin Millennial, and the Knight of South China. For you, we have Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys, and Chardonnay. We got some vape juice and Jambo cartridges, cookie and vodka, zucchini and meatloaf, horsehead pumpkin ale, organic macaroni and plasticizers, beer and blunts, cowgirls and coffin varnish, breast milk and pablum, ginger ale and gerbils, bong hits and bourbon, and mutton and mead is what you really want to eat at the round table of the No Agenda Knights and Names. And thank you to these 3 freshly minted knights. You are requested as your first official duty to go to noagendanation.com/rings and give Eric the Shill as much info as possible so that he can send that off to you. And of course, once you receive your knight ring, your signet ring, your sealing wax, and your certificate, tweet out a picture. We got a couple of them in the past week. It's always fun. And it's a good way to introduce yourself to the group and for everybody to thank you for your courage and bow to your power.
So I have a little Ask Adam segment.
Oh, okay. Do I need the jingle for this, or is it?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, come on, let's do the jingle.
We're running out of time.
We're running out of time. It's a podcast. What are you talking about?
We're running out of time.
Running out of time. I'm not running. Do you have to
talking about life in general?
Do you have to be somewhere? Do you got so? Are you busy today?
Donuts.
Donuts. Okay. Ask Adam. I'm ready.
Okay. Now there's so I'm watching Deutsche Welle because I can't get any news from our networks.
No, of course not.
So they're doing this thing on child brides in Nigeria, northern Nigeria. They just have a real problem. It's everyone's a child bride.
It caught your attention.
Well, it caught anyone's attention. But I've got a question here because they discuss it. They discuss the problem, and then then there's a moment where the question is asked of some elder or some leader. These are all a bunch of people from northern Nigeria, which is largely Muslim. And so I'm going to play clip 1, and then I'm going to ask you the question that she's asking. I want you to guess the answer.
Okay, here is clip 1.
Well, child marriage is a widespread practice in many parts of the world. It's common, for example, in northern Nigeria. Now, some parents there give their daughters away because of dire poverty. DW's Bonnie Fashar traveled to Kaduna State to talk to people who support this very controversial practice and to those who are fighting it.
A Muslim neighborhood in Kaduna City in northern Nigeria. I came here to find out about a girl who was locked up in this place for 2 years, without much light or food, and left on her own. Her name is Hassana. She was a child bride. These pictures were taken when she was released from captivity just a week ago. She was held here by her family because she refused to return to her husband. She was only 15 when she was forced to marry. A mother of 4. A child bride, one of millions in Nigeria. This neighbor knows Hassana. He says at the age of 15, she wasn't too young to be married. He would marry his daughters off much younger.
And this was on Deutsche Welle.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they ask him, how old would you marry your daughters off at? They ask Adam guess the age he said.
Okay. Do you mind if I just hear the last little bit of this clip of the clue clip so I can just get into the question? Hold on.
A child bride, one of millions in Nigeria. This neighbor knows Hassana. He says at the age of 15, she wasn't too young to be married. He would marry his daughters off much younger.
Much younger. He would marry his... Gee. I'm just going to take... Well, since it's an Ask Adam, there must be a very surprising answer.
No, you're starting to try to outguess the thing. It's simple. You don't try to. You're trying to psych me out.
Well,
why would I do this? You're thinking to yourself, why is he going to do this stupid?
Okay,
just Ask Adam thing unless it's a crazy answer.
No, so I think it would be a joke answer. Of course. I mean, what do I know about this? It was probably much younger. It was probably 14, and that's the joke.
Ready. Hit it.
He would marry his daughters off much younger.
At the age of 6 years. You understand? And
what age?
Age of 6 years.
6?
Yes.
Oh, wow. 6 years?
Wow. So
how much aid do we send to Nigeria? Cut that shit off right away.
I would think. Now, it did end up with the child bride ISO.
Oh, I was just about to ask you if we had something for an ISO. Let me check this.
6.
Yes.
Yeah, nice. It's done.
6. Yes.
6.
The way
yes.
the guy says yes is the best
Ooh,
part.
Yes.
6.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. 6. Yes, it's the best. I could say all kinds of things, but nothing would sound right. It's really quite disturbing.
It's very disturbing.
But, that's their culture. Who am I? Who am I to appropriate their culture?
Yes, it's the prime directive. You can't do anything.
Can't say it? No, that would be totally wrong. Yes, of course. Man, oh man. Yeah, there's some development in the vape wars. Very interesting. Now, this is a clip I've been holding on to for a week. This is Junior Senator Mitt Romney proposing some vaping legislation.
Senator Berkeley and I put together a piece of legislation that does 4 things. 1, it makes these flavors illegal. Number 2, it insists on closed tanks, a closed system, as opposed to one that people can add THC and other products to. 3, it puts a lot more money into advertising on social media and other media sources to go to kids. And finally, it pays for that advertising by putting an excise tax on nicotine, just like the excise taxes on nicotine and cigarettes. If that legislation were to pass, my presumption is we would have a dramatic impact on reducing the number of kids that get addicted to nicotine.
So now, of course, we know from following this whole story that the Master States Agreement basically called for taxes and penalty fees to be paid by the big tobacco companies as a kind of reparation for the destruction that they have caused, and that this did not apply to vaping because it's not tobacco, it's nicotine. So there is our big Bain Capital douchebag billionaire Romney coming in. Don't worry, we'll put some tax on it because all of the states had already taken out written bonds. They were already spending the money before they got it. Smoking is down significantly because of vaping, and that is part of this whole, well, we've gone through this if you followed the vape wars. This is all a scam. The idea is, get back on tobacco, you stupid slaves. There'll be none of this vaping. We can't have that. And it looked like everything was going in the right direction. The big tobacco companies were happy. We had the first lady all over this because of, as the president said, she has a son. If you recall, she has a son and she doesn't want him to vape. Oh, shit, we have a son. Yeah, that guy, that kid, who is taller than he is at this point. But now it looks like the president has done a little one-twosie, the old backflip, the old pull the rug underneath from underneath the tobacco companies. Trump is reversing course on flavored vape ban, leaving it unclear whether government will act. Washington Post and Reuters. U.S. President Donald Trump said on Monday he will be meeting with vaping industry officials, which I think is Justin the drug dealer, as well as medical and political officials to discuss vaping and e-cigarettes. We will be meeting with representatives of the vaping industry, together with medical professionals and individual state representatives, to come up with an acceptable solution to the vaping and e-cigarette dilemma. Children's health and safety, together with jobs, will be a focus, he said on Twitter. Trump did not give time for the meeting, so he's putting the squeeze on the tobacco guys. He's figured it out. If he didn't realize it already, he was hoodwinked. And the power of I actually accused him of kowtowing to the tobacco industry because he was all in on this. And all of a sudden, whoops. So we'll see what happens.
Maybe he listens to the show.
Oh, God. God, can you imagine? Where's my invite?
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah, well, where's my invite to sleep in the Lincoln bedroom?
Yeah, well, you could have done it in the past because when Clinton was president, he just had a fee schedule.
Yeah, well, I couldn't afford it.
I think it was $250,000 to spend the night there.
And here's this is an interesting campaign. You may have heard about it. South Dakota has a meth problem, and I'm sure that they have done work on this, and that they have done.
All the northern states have a meth problem,
right? But South Dakota has a very interesting campaign to combat the meth. First, we'll hear from the South Dakota governor.
I'm Governor Kristi Noem. South Dakota's meth crisis is growing at an alarming rate. It impacts every community in our state, and it threatens the success of the next generation. This is our problem, and together we need to get on it. If you see something happening or you know of someone who needs help, call 1-800-920-4343 or go to onmeth.com. Let's get meth out of South Dakota.
So the campaign took an interesting tactic, a version of reverse psychology, which is why I wanted to deconstruct it here. This is the most recent 30-second spot. Meth, we're on it.
I'm on meth.
I'm on meth.
I'm on it too. So am I.
So am I.
I'm on meth.
Meth is not someone else's problem. It's everyone in South Dakota's problem. And we need everyone to get on it.
I'm on it.
I'm on it.
I'm on it too.
Now, universally mocked on the social media networks for I need to get on it, we need to get on it, I'm on it. Do you think this reverse, I'm not quite sure, it's not reverse psychology, but it's kind of saying it's a It's a double entendre of I'm on it, I'm on the problem, but I'm on it. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm on meth is what the first one said. Then the other says meth, I'm on it.
Yeah.
Now, a couple of things I noticed. One is that use of the flat key from an untuned piano, but this played very, very loud. It's reminiscent of the things that both of us have bought, which is these sound makers that are used in some classrooms to get attention.
Oh,
remember that?
Yeah, I have the big Zenergy chime right here.
Yeah, Zenergy. Anyway, so they're playing that note.
Yeah,
get you jacked up, or get your attention. It does get your attention. It does work.
It sure does.
And then they bring this up. I just think it was a completely stupid campaign. I hope you have something more than that, because I just think it was an amateur hour from some agency up there in South Dakota. Hey, we could be as good as New York. We can do this sort of thing. And it's slick. It's not a sleazy production. It's nice,
well done.
Ad.
Well done.
It's the messaging that's the problem.
I hate to disappoint, but I don't have anything else. I just thought, oh my God, am I missing something? Is this some new strategy that will really work?
It got a lot of attention. If that's the idea, then it did work.
Yes, this is a good point.
Why are we talking about it? So we're talking about it because it worked.
Yeah.
That's what you have to assume. It's like those ads, you see the really funny ad. I always like to do this. Like to do it with the kids. You get a really great ad on television, everyone's watching it, and then the ad's over, and you immediately ask them what the ad was for, and they can't name
remember.
the
They
advertiser.
can't name it. They can't name the car brand or anything. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, those slick ads usually don't work very well. They win prizes. You win a
you win a little trophy.
Don't you win? What is the thing in France? The festival, the Lions Festival. The Lions Festival.
Yeah, there you go.
The Lions Festival.
So the ad got attention, so I guess maybe it did work, and they just have to. Unfortunately, to be the humorless in their state. Well, it was a waste of money.
What else do I have? Julia Assange, Sweden drops rape investigation. So I'm still not sure why he's in jail now.
Well, he's in jail for flight.
Oh, okay. Flight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he skipped out on his bond.
ISIS, I'm just going through stuff that's left over in case anything catches. ISIS is preparing a deep fake of al-Baghdadi alive.
I don't know how much video they have of him.
Well, I think we've been seeing deep fake alive for the past 10 years. The guy's
could be. Maybe that was a hint. Hey, hello.
Dead forever. I thought this just came in just before the show started. There was a press release that came out from, now who released this thing? It was AFP, Agence France Presse, NPR, and Al Jazeera all jumped on a report from the United Nations. And I missed all this, so I'm sad because I didn't get to download anything or get, maybe someone can still find some stuff at archive.org. The United Nations reported that there are currently more than 100,000 children in immigrated-related custody, which violates international law. And this was aimed squarely at the United States. So everybody jumped on it, of course, until a day later, Reuters and AFP clarified that the numbers were actually from 2015 when Barack Obama was president. So they all deleted their reports. Gone.
Yeah.
Wiped off the face of the net. Hypocrite.
Yeah, classic.
Hypocrites.
That's what we have to put up with.
Oh, well.
I get the Nancy Pelosi clip where she calls the United States a continent.
Oh, let's listen to this.
Dishonor your oath of office, who we are as a people. America as a people. What is America? This beautiful, beautiful continent from sea to shining sea and beyond.
Sea to shining sea and beyond. Yeah, no. Poor old Nancy. Yeah, I think we're almost there, man.
Well, I can play the little Bill Barr thing then. Bill Barr gave a lecture that I thought was kind of funny. Before one of his, a sympathetic group of people, but he's lecture on politics and religion, and he makes a few points I thought we could make, and it'd be a good way to finish the show off with something, enlightening to people who are unfamiliar with the basics.
This highlights a basic disadvantage that conservatives have had in contesting the political issues of the day. It goes back to the beginning of the Republic. It was adverted to by that old curmudgeonly federalist, Fisher Ames, in several of his essays during the early Republic, and I paraphrase. In any age, the so-called progressives treat politics as a religion. Their holy mission is to use the coercive power of the state to remake man and society in their own image according to an abstract ideal of perfection. Whatever means they use are therefore justified because, by definition, they are virtuous people pursuing a deific end. They are willing to use any means necessary to gain momentary advantage in achieving their end, regardless of the collateral consequences and the systemic implications. They never ask whether the action they take could be justified as a general rule of conduct equally applicable to all sides. What would we think if the shoe were on the other foot? And yet we hear them irresponsibly tabling proposals to do away with the Electoral College or to pack the courts. Who's shredding constitutional norms?
They could easily put that on TV. It's goes right along with the excitement of everything else.
Yeah, it was boring, but
no, it was the message
poignant.
Was there. Poignant, yes. Yeah, that'll be it for the deconstruction for today. And we are running a little late, but it's a podcast. Please join us for our next big show, which will be on Sunday. You never know what will happen between now and then, but for sure we'll be all over it. And remember to support us by going to Dvorak.org/NA. Coming to you from Opportunity Zone 33 here in Austin, Texas. We are the capital of the Drone Star State. You'll find us on the governmental maps in FEMA Region 6. Until Sunday in the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where apparently yuzu juice is now a thing, I'm John C. Dvorak.
End of show mixes from Tom Starkweather, Jesse Coy Nelson, and coming up after this on NoAgendaStream.com, Mo Facts, episode 15, the NBA. Till Sunday, adios, everybody. And Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. When I was growing up in Holland in the 70s, there was a large heroin problem. People who were addicted to heroin or opioids, they received methadone treatments from the government. The meth bus would literally drive through neighborhoods, stop, and everyone could get in the bus, like the ice cream truck. It had the jingle as the bells ringing as he goes to the street. Mommy, it's the best bus! Best bus! It's the best bus! Okay, go ahead.
I think a set of those Texas horns would be good work.
Dixie. Da-da-da-da-da-da. The meth bus. It's the best bus! Mommy, it's the best bus!
I raised $17,000 from ex-boyfriends. And I'd like to point out, it is not an expanding base. So
climate is also an issue important to our audience.
I think it is really important because here's the thing.
Where you put your head at night determines so many things about your life.
These are the kinds of conversations that we're having in our town hall meetings and house parties in different parts of the country.
So when you make it big, when you make it really big, when you make it... Which will be a tender moment in the life of this country.
Until we get to that tender moment.
Because right now, unfortunately, we're living in a world where data is the new oil and we don't have our arms around it. I thought you might have been high when you said it. And let me tell you, because marijuana in our country is already legal for privileged people. They did one of all the candidates by wealth, and I am literally the least wealthy person on this stage.
Makes sense. To be commander-in-chief, there's no time for on-the-job training.
What the American people understand is that the Congress can walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. Because I am not insane.
We got gear. Anybody wants to hear, they hear through the gear. We got gear. Anybody wants to hear, they hear through the gear.
We too are only human, and we do this all by ourselves from John's desk drawer.
Pretty. It's actually a drawer in a cabinet.
It's true. The show is run out of John's china cabinet.
It's one drawer. Every once in a while, I point. Somebody comes over and says, the whole No Agenda show is run out of this drawer.
Is that and a Radio Shack 101 project kit? That's what the show is running on here.
We do have gear. Adam has more gear than I do.
Yeah, we got gear.
We got gear. Anybody wants to hear, they hear through the gear.
And we do this all by ourselves from John's desk drawer.
We got gear. Anybody wants to hear, they hear through the gear.
And we do this all by ourselves from John's desk drawer. We do that.
The best podcast in the universe.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
6. Yes.